This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and a big welcome to Canada Elementary. It's your first time on a live safari. Isn't this exciting? We're with the largest animals on land in the world. My name is Brent Leosmith. I have my good friend Craig on camera. And look at this, we are completely surrounded by elephants. So these are 3 little boys. So they can be full of nonsense. Hello, little guys. So these are teenage boys, ranging from about 12. Apologies, we're not on school drive yet. It's a late session. But, so, welcome everyone. How cool is this though? We're completely surrounded by ellies. Some of you would have seen these guys swimming in the pan. There's another herd you can see coming through just to the left of these very wet ones that are completely dry. And they're probably going to make their way to the pan now. This is a really big female. Tristan is trying to film her as she walks past us. And I was trying to get a picture of Tristan just before we went. So there's Tristan and Seb. I'm just going to see if I can get a picture of Tristan through the elephant's legs. Isn't this cool, guys? Isn't this absolutely amazing? Oh, I'm getting dusted on one side. So we saw all those dry elephants walking past us, and we've got the wet elephants that were just at the pan. Here comes the wet ellies there. Hello, teenage troubles. Let's have a look. I'm just gonna sneak. Tristan, say hello, Tristan. Getting a picture of Seb and Tristan. Oof, isn't this wonderful? Gina, was that one elephant pregnant? Gina, there are about 45 elephants, so I'm not sure which one you were referring to. Here comes these little trouble causers, little teenage bulls. What are you doing? Don't get silly, you. Don't get silly with me. I'll sort you out. Yeah. Now you look sheepish. You just move off now. Okay, I think, what? I'll put my ears out, then you'll be in trouble. Batman, he doesn't like you. What deodorant did you put on today? Now, it's definitely you he's looking at. That's why he's going to the back of the vehicle, batters. Remember, if you have any questions, hashtag SafariLive. I'm going to loop around because I think that other herd is going to head towards the Djuma Pan. I know Tristan is heading off to see if he can find the mating leopards he had this morning. And once we're done with these ellies, and it's a little bit cooler, we heard Hosanna was on his way back down from Buffelshoek into Djuma, so we're going to go have a look there. Now, these ellies are almost certainly going to go have a splish splash, and it looks like that some of the trouble causers, the little bulls that were already wet, are doing the same. First going back for their second swim. Okay, so while we get ourselves into a good spot to enjoy an elephant mud bath, let's go across to Madam McCurdy, who's sweating out all the calories on this hot, low-felt afternoon.
So sweaty. Hello everybody, my name's Taylor Sweaty McCurdy, and on camera with me today is David the Darby Eastall, who's also hot and is wearing long sleeves today because he wants to protect himself from the sun. Right, we've just left camp as we've got some very cool viewers in house at the moment, which is epic, from Australia. G'day, Sheila and Bruce. No, I'm joking, that's nothing. Right, we're here at some elephant dung. Let me focus and do my work now. We're going to go looking for elephants. I think we're going to go to those elephants that were at the pan. I know they were heading towards Ingas, but there was an elephant here probably a couple of days ago. Now, I think the birds have been here. Franklins, hornbills, starlings, all these other wonderful things. As they've opened up the dung quite a bit, you can see how it's all nice and spread out, but no dung beetles. I thought with all the booming insects around at the moment, because there are a whole lot, even found a caterpillar today, which was quite cool. You'd think that if you just turned over the dung a little bit, where it's still quite moist, you'd find something, but there's nothing. Okay. Well, it is upsetting. It's very upsetting. So we'll just carry on. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll probably march in that direction. We're just going to let, I think William's desperately trying to go past us on the cruiser. He's already gone the scenic way around now. So we'll let him carry on. Here comes the next one. We're at the highway now. It's Opar. There's Opar. Wave, Opar! There we go. And there's Rexon, of course. You guys all know Rex. Sporting his shirt that says, actually, we have to show you.
Africa's not for.
This is a great shirt. You guys all need to get this shirt. Africa is not for sissies. That's great. Don't you think that's great? It's true, it's not. I mean, look at me. I shouldn't be here. I don't like the flies. Right, now Brent, of course, has beaten me to the elephants at the pan, but we will get them as they move away. Off we go back to him. They seem to be having a grand old time.
Look at this. Isn't this wonderful? So that whole second herd that was charging in has really come to enjoy the muddy water of the pan. There's absolute fun being had. And in the center there's a whole bunch of little ones who are just having the best time. Aqua says they look very happy. Aqua, there's few animals that enjoy a mud moth as much as an elephant. Look at those little chaps. So much fun. It was a very quick mud moth for some of them, but others are seeming to be hanging around a little bit longer. That little one there looks like, yes, that one, having the best time. Rosalind is wondering, can Ellies swim well? Indeed they can, Rosalind. They're actually excellent swimmers. And they will often cross very, very deep patches of water, like the Zambezi River, and even large lakes or man-made lakes and dams like Lake Kariba, the Massanger Dam in Mozambique. And that was a very quick splash today. Out of all the herds of Ellies we see regularly here at Djuma, love that sound. The herd that seems to really enjoy swimming the most is Fang's herd. They can swim for 40 minutes, an hour even sometimes. It's really great to have all these Ellies back. Tristan was telling me for quite a few weeks there hasn't been much elephant activity around. And it seems just as Jamie and I arrived, the Ellies came down in huge numbers. Okay, I'm going to stick with these Ellies a little bit longer. In the meantime, let's send you across to Tristan so he can say hello.
Indeed, we would like to say hello to all of you. So it is a very, very warm welcome to Jigger with myself, Tristan, and on camera I've got Sebastian once again this afternoon. And it's a glorious afternoon. There's not a cloud in the sky, but it is incredibly warm this afternoon. And so that's going to hopefully work well and work in our favor, because Sebastian and I are off to go and find Tingana and his new lady suitor that we left in the shade at about 9:30 this morning. We stayed out a little bit extra and tried to stick with them for a while just to get her used to us and to try and just kind of spend a bit more time. And we actually got a really great sighting out of it. We watched them mate a few times. In fact, I think we watched it 4 or 5 times in total, which was quite nice. And she started to relax quite a bit. By the time I left, you know, she was sitting fairly close to us and just watching us through the bush. And I mean, she was alert that we were there, but she definitely wasn't that same skittish leopard that when we first got there that was kind of just peering at us through the bushes. She had become far more chilled with our presence. So it just goes to show, if you just relax and turn off and sit quietly, then everything was okay. And the idea is to try and get her used to that we are around and that we're not a threat to her in any way whatsoever. But that's our plan, is we're going to go try and spend the majority of our afternoon with them, try and see if we can find them. First of all, it's going to be tricky to find them. We know that leopards that are mating often do move a lot. Where they went into was very tricky area. It's very dense, very thick, and it's not an easy place to traverse. And so that's why we're going to try and start from early in the afternoon. Even though they're probably going to be sleepy and not doing too much, at least at this time of the afternoon we've got time to track and time to look and try and find these guys before it gets a little bit darker. And then I'm hoping that later we'll see them getting up and moving and hopefully kind of winding their way through all the way down to the dam camp for a drink if they haven't already made their way in that direction. So that's the idea. We'll see how it goes, and hopefully we will get it right and we'll be able to have a really nice afternoon with the two of them. She's a beautiful young girl, thoroughly, well, not young, she's middle age, should we call her? What do we call her? Middle age, yes. Lady, she's got beautiful coloured coat, and I really enjoyed actually this morning spending time with her. So I'm hoping this afternoon will be more of the same. Right, now before I drop into Gremlin's hideout, let's send you back to, I'm sure is loving spending time with the Ellies this afternoon.
Indeed I am. They've moved off a little bit, so I'm going to stick with them. There are a few left there, but I'm going to stick with the bigger group. I'm hoping that these young boys are going to go for a dust bath now that they've finished with their water bath. Hello, little troubles. Madeleine is wondering, how often do elephants take a bath? Well, it's very dependent on availability a lot of the time, Madeleine, and also on temperature. So when it's hot like it is today, they will maybe, or they'll probably drink maybe once or twice today, but maybe swim like that probably only once in a day like that. And they spray a lot of mud on themselves to help cool down, as well as to try keep some of the biting insects at bay. There's one of those little boys. There's one I was hoping that might go for a dust bath. Timothy is wondering, how big is an elephant's brain? Well, Timothy, that always depends on the size of the elephant. But relatively big, probably on a big elephant bull, about the size of a football. Come on. No, he's not dust bathing properly. He's actually picking up stuff to eat. I was hoping he was going to kick up the dust. So probably close on 50 elephants around here at the moment. There we go. Now he's dust bathing. Very small, short dust bath. And it's quite common behavior. There's another one dust bathing up ahead of us there, making a bit more dust. Now, as I said, it's quite common behavior straight after having a good swim or a drink. Once they've sprayed that mud on there, they'll spray dust on top of their wet skin. I think just because it feels quite nice. Our little boy is still sort of half dust bathing, half picking up patches of food. Peggy says, I just can't get enough of Ellies. Me neither, Peggy. Me neither. So I was quite excited that they decided to arrive back when I got back after a couple of weeks of not being around too much. A little Birchall's starling popping down, hoping that the elephant might disturb some insect it could pounce upon. Oh, here we go. Gemma, whoopsie, would like to know, how often do we see the same herd of Eddies? Gemma, it's quite dependent. And it also seems to depend on certain times of the year. We'll see certain herds of Eddies more than others. But it's difficult to say. We see the short trunk herd probably the most frequently. But herds like fangs that travel really long distances, we don't see nearly as frequently. But short trunk herd, probably once a week or so. And so they're probably the herd we see most frequently. I'm going to sit with our young friend here a little bit longer. Meantime, let's send you across to Taylor, who's found Ellies on foot.
Well, look at where we are now. I've obviously lowered my voice just slightly. I'm going to shuffle around in a minute. But we're here with the same herd of elephants that Brent had, or has. But we've just got the front of the herd now, who have moved into the thicket after a bit of a swim and a drink at Vuyatelapan, and now need to feed on the delicious crunchy branches and grass, dry grass, and probably some roots at some point too. So that's what they're doing at the moment, and they have no idea that we're here. We're very lucky. We've got I suppose there's a bit more than a breeze at the moment. It's quite pleasant in our favour, which is nice and cool, cooling us down as we are perspiring in the sun. But of course, doing a walk on a hot afternoon like this, when you get to spend it with elephants, is definitely worth it. I'm kind of sad that they moved away from the pan so soon, because that would have been awesome. I remember fondly one of the best bushwalks I think I've ever done. Rexon was involved, and we walked all the way down here and we watched the elephants play in Vuyatela Dam when there was still water in it. Do you remember that, Rex? Well, it was a good day. It was such a massive herd of Eddies that had come down. It was also in the afternoon. I think we spent about an hour with them, just watching. It was just truly incredible. And actually, I think I've had my best elephant encounters on foot with Rexon. We've had young bulls right up next to us on the termite mound. When I first got back from Kenya, we had one of the best walks I think I've done. We had Hosanna on foot with a kill, and he was munching away. And then later on, we then had elephants, a whole herd of elephants that fed in and around us, and then they also just fed at the base of the termite mound. It was really cool. You're sliding off the termite mound there, Darby. That's very, very cool. So yeah, so we don't really know which way they're going to feed. We're kind of just sitting, kind of looking. Yes, it's nice to get the different angles. Now, what's quite nice about where we are is we're in a termite mound. We've got shade. Strategic, right? You know, comfort and good game viewing. But we've also got this sort of wall of trees sort of between us. We've got monkey oranges, we've got some silver cluster leaves, some marula trees, and quite a few bush willows. So it's quite nice. It forms like this little belt all around us. So it's breaking up our silhouette. There is one area over there that's just feeding, which we should probably just watch for. The reason why I say that is not because we're worried, but we don't want them to sort of see us. I'm actually going to sit right down, just so that I'm out of the way. And also as they start to get closer, I'll probably lower my voice because we know how well elephants can hear. But I think with them crunching through all the trees, look, here comes one now, all the way around the corner. Yeah, we can do a short one. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this incredible bushwalk here in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. You heard me right. I'm on foot as we speak, as we sit with this herd of elephants. My name is Taylor McCurdy. On camera with me today is David, and of course we've got none other than Rexon walking with us this afternoon. Now, if some of you are familiar with SafariLive and you do watch our dam cam, you may have noticed there were some elephants that were swimming around at the pan, and that's exactly where these elephants have come from. Now, if you're new and you've never asked us questions before, because this is a live and an interactive safari that you're watching, all you have to do is comment away and, well, ask me anything, preferably about these elephants. Now, if you're really worried about my safety, you don't have to be. We have got the wind in our favor. We've actually got the sun in our favor too this afternoon, and we're sitting on a termite mound, so we've got a bit of an advantage point too, which is awesome. And this is possibly one of my favorite things to experience here out in Africa when doing a walking safari, is having the opportunity to surround yourselves with elephants. Now, of course, if you're not with a professionally trained safari guide, please don't do this. Constance, you were worried about us. Don't worry. But yes, I'm glad that you are happy that we are safe. I promise you, we are A-OK. If something were to go wrong, which is very, very slim, obviously we are taking a risk being out on foot with these animals, but we're all very well-trained safari guides, so we know what we're doing. We're not going to let the animals come too close to us, because this is a breeding herd of elephants. So this herd is basically made up with majority of females and their calves. And there'll be a couple of young bulls around too, but they won't stay in the herd for too long. So the problem comes in is that you don't want to get stuck between a mom and her calf. So it's important that we keep scanning around us, making sure that there aren't any elephants that have gone walkabout, because that's what they do. They don't all just feed on top of one another. They actually spread themselves out and will sort of feed together. So you could have a couple of 100 meters of elephants that are all part of the same herd, all feeding with one another, all fairly close by. And because of their communication systems, they can move a bit further away from us. Anthony, so elephants are exceptionally intelligent. I mean, I don't think they're quite up there with humans, obviously, but in terms of wild animals, elephants' intelligence is up there with dolphins, it's up there with chimpanzees. They're incredible when it comes to solving problems. For instance, are you watching the elephant that's dust bathing? So you can see that cow. How incredible is it she knows how to loosen the soil with her feet. She knows that if she does that, with a combination of her foot, her trunk, and sometimes even her tusks to loosen the soil, she'll pick that up and cover her entire body with it. And she's now had a bath, so she's wet, so that sand is going to stick to her body, and that's going to help protect her from all the flies and all the biting insects, and also give her a bit of comfort from the heat too. That's why they like to mud wallow. Keeps them nice and cool. The way that they communicate with one another, so they have a very intricate system. They communicate through infrasound, so most of the time we don't even know what's going on or when they're talking to one another, just because we can't pick up those sort of low sort of rumblings. And then of course they do a variety of other types of communication, from trumpeting to, like I said, the soft sort of rumbles. And the way that they interact with one another I suppose their social dynamics is also pretty incredible. And when you watch animals, it's very easy to kind of humanize the things that they do. The little ones play like children, and the adults will reprimand the youngsters when they feel need be. It's really amazing to watch. It's also very therapeutic, and we talk about this often as to how people use horses and other animals and all things like that to obviously deal with people who have special needs, to help them feel calm, relax. You can pretty much do that in an elephant sighting. Now, they have changed direction a little bit. Did you see that? They were feeding south. Now they've slowly changed direction and sort of coming more to the west. So this is where we need to just make sure that we don't get into trouble, but we won't. Because we know where all the elephants are. We're not moving around, we're sitting in the shadows. They've got fairly good eyesight. But if we've got ourselves concealed with all these trees and things around us and in the shadows, it's not really going to be too much of a problem. And I think the most important thing is that we've got the wind in our favor. So we are downwind of these elephants. So they're not going to pick up the scent unless the wind starts to swirl and blows our scent down towards them. Then it's going to definitely be a bit of a problem. But they're not just going to want to attack us. Ivora, yes, this is magical. I could sit here all day long. Well, I hope that you enjoyed just a short visit with some elephants on foot. And you can actually carry on watching us if you'd like it. And if you enjoyed this little segment with us, all you have to do is hop onto Google and type in SafariLive. The best way to watch us is, of course, on YouTube. But from myself, Rexon, and David, we wish you a happy afternoon, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for participating in that wonderful action broadcast. Right, I think we'll probably move away from these Ellies and try and give Brent a hand in relocating on Hosanna, who was headed south from Tabweti Dam. But speaking of Brent, let's hop on board with him.
Hello, yes, well, we've left the Ellies for now. The last place we heard was Hosanna was heading towards Tabweti Dam, which is on the boundary. So we're going to scoot off in that direction, see if we can find any tracks of him crossing. Hopefully he has. And hopefully he's going to, well, depends which way. Hopefully for us he's still a bit hungry and we might see him on the hunt this evening. Or hopefully for Hosanna he managed to catch something. Although I think he was just playing voyeur most of last night and this morning, watching Tingana and that unknown female. Ay, ay, ay. Is he... Well, quite sure who's been missing Hosanna. I think we spent about 3 hours with him yesterday. He's around. That is an old Hosanna track, not a fresh one. Aha! Well, I think it's going to be a spotty afternoon. Now let's go see what my dear friend Tristan has caught up with.
Well, it is a spotty afternoon because we've managed to find the Duke and this female. She is around. She's just had a mating session with him as we arrived and then ducked off into a thicket. It's really tricky where we are. In fact, I am not even convinced I'm going to try and get us out of here once we've now gotten in. It is a tight, twisty turn to try and get through all of this nonsense, and where they are lying is almost inaccessible. So we got very lucky that Seb had eagle eyes and spotted Tingana from a mile away through all of this nonsense, and that's how we managed to find them. And then obviously when they mated, the sound of it makes it much easier for us to find them. But she is here as well, and she was fairly okay when we first arrived. She kind of was sitting up on the bank right next to him, and we kind of drove in, and she stayed like that for quite some time. And then she, as we kind of parked, she got up and walked and mated with him. And then she's now just gone off behind a little bush just to go and hide away for a little bit. So I think she's just kind of working things out once again. She'll definitely come back. I mean, we know with mating leopards that she's going to spend the majority of her day following him around. So as long as we can keep tabs on Tingana, well, then we should be okay. The problem is from this particular spot, unless they walk towards where I am, there is zero chance of us finding them again. And in fact, I don't even think another vehicle will get anywhere near where we are at the moment. It's taken a bit of kind of engineering and I don't know, but of good fortune to be able to squeeze ourselves through here. And I honestly don't know how I'm going to get us back out again, but that'll be later Tristan's problem. For now, for now we're just going to enjoy the fact that we can see them. But Tingy, you can see, looks quite tired, doesn't he, and quite hot. It is a warm afternoon, and that's why they haven't moved too far. They've moved about 60 meters from where we had them this morning, and so further southwards is the direction that they've headed. And so I'm hoping she'll kind of make an appearance again just now. She's a beautiful, beautiful girl, and she was quite fine. Like I say, she wasn't too unrelaxed with us when we first got here, so I'm sure she'll kind of pop out just now. And as long as we're not moving, she's perfectly viewable. So it promises to be a really good afternoon. And luckily, it didn't take too long to find her. I thought we were going to have a really tough time of it, given where we are at the moment. It's a horrible, horrible mess of thickets of quarries and tamburtis and fallen over trees, and it makes it really tough for us to actually maneuver our vehicles through here. But luckily, they lay in a spot where we could actually spot them. So Lara, I mean, leopards will use a lot of things to be able to determine which males they're going to mate with. One is she would have heard Tingana sawing last night, probably picked up his scent and moved and tried to kind of figure out who this male was. She would have, through her phlegm and grimace, picked up that there was that there was a male that is a dominant individual. The other thing is that when she sees him versus Hosana, even though Hosana is turning into a big boy and he's starting to kind of get a little bit of a dewlap and starting to grow, he's still nothing in comparison to Tingana in terms of size. Tingana is a much bulkier animal, much bigger dewlap, and so that female automatically will be attracted to the larger size and that bigger dewlap. And also Hosana's actual behavior in the presence of Tingana will also indicate to her that he's a submissive male to Tingana, and that means that he would be able to, or she'll be able to work out exactly who is who, and who is the more dominant, and she would want to mate with the dominant individual and try her very best to kind of mate with him rather than a submissive male. Although there have been reported cases of females mating with both a dominant male and a bit more submissive male in the past in the Sabi Sand, so who knows, maybe if Hosana had stuck around he might have got lucky, but I don't think Tingana would have really enjoyed kind of him being around, and so maybe he got a bit snarled at and a bit kind of hissed at, and that maybe then led to him moving off. And it sounded like he was moving back into Juma Hosana as well from around Tambuti Dam and Vubu Road area. So I'm pretty sure he should kind of appear at some point this afternoon as well. But it really is going to be a steamy start to our day, though. I'm just sitting here and it's very warm, so I'm not surprised these two have found this area to lie down. It's really shady and kind of much cooler on that little high slope than it is where we are. We're kind of going down into the drainage. There's not much of a breeze here, but I can see the kind of leaves are moving in places where they are, and so maybe a little bit of a breeze. But you'll also notice that Tingana is breathing heavily, so lots of panting at the moment to try and just kind of cool himself down as much as possible and try and kind of control that temperature when it's so hot like this. Now, Brent is shouting in my ear because he's having a full-on conversation with the others about Hosana, and I feel like I'm deaf now. Brent, quiet. He needs to give Brent some direction, otherwise he just makes a lot of noise. And between him and Taylor, should be actually a loud drive, to be honest. Right. Now, we're going to figure it out and figure out how we actually can maybe get ourselves into a slightly better spot to see Tingana. And while we do that, though, let's send you back across to Taylor, who must be loving the fact that she can spend some time with Ellie's on foot.
I cannot tell you how much I'm loving these elephants at the moment, and they're coming so close. So close. It's so cool. There's even a tiny little baby coming. Maybe in about 30 seconds. It'll come out into the open. It's just that one there passing the marula tree. There's quite a big cow coming through, and then I think it's her calf. I'm obviously whispering now, because they are getting very close, and we just need to be, obviously, just cautious. But they have no idea we're here, and I even swatted a fly, and they didn't know. The fly just got to me. And I couldn't stop swatting. It was terrible. But now I'm at peace again because I'm watching the elephants. So all is good in the hood. Now, I can't see what you're seeing. But I know you're all looking at elephants, so that's cool. But I think that this is honestly one of the best way to view animals, and especially something like elephants that are so social and are constantly busy and on the go. Obviously, lions sleeping, watching them on foot would be really boring, and I don't think too exciting. It'll be exciting in the beginning, but that would wear off. But the fact that these elephants are just going about their day without any idea that we're even here is so epic. I can't tell you how amazing it is. Look how calm they are. Wait, Emma, who said that? Barb. Did Barb say that? Bart with a T. Bart with a T, says Emma at the same time as I did. Yes, it is probably the quietest you'll ever hear me. I mean, Darby, which elephant are you on? Can we look at that one that was suckling? Oh, stop now. There's even an elephant calf that is suckling. Now, that just goes to show you how hidden away we are, except the wind every now and then. I'm worried that it's going to swirl. Not that I think they're going to come stampeding towards us, but this would be really epic if we could keep it in a way in which they don't know that we're here. And we were talking about this the other day. There's a time and a place for different ways to do walks. Sometimes you need to stay hidden. Other times you need to make yourself known to the animals. And right now, we don't have to do anything. If they were to come too close and we weren't able to get away, all the viewers are saying I'm the elephant whisperer. Well, I'm whispering in an elephant sighting. I mean, I don't think I'm the elephant whisperer, but thank you. It must sound really weird to hear me whispering. I'm actually going to go back and watch and listen to how quiet I can be. I bet Brent couldn't talk this softly even if he tried. I love the fact that Tristan says that Brent is shouting at him on the radio. Also, I must tell you guys a funny story, because today it's obviously really hot, and what Brent really likes to do is he freezes these energy drinks. But when I say energy drink, like a Gatorade, we've got the equivalent Energade Powerade, and he always puts them in the freezer, obviously, to get frozen. And the funny part about it is that I do it sometimes. Sensor does it a lot. Brent does it religiously every single day. And I went to the freezer earlier on and I saw these frozen drinks and I thought, I'm going to hide them. I really wanted to hide them because I knew he was going to get so cross. And I didn't. I was upset because then he came in and he tried to give me a fright, but I was watching him through the reflection of the window, so he didn't give me a fright. He made Ali scream last night because he gave her such a big fright. It was really funny. But then he comes in and he opens the chest freezer and he goes, "Who's taken my drinks?" And he just didn't look properly. Then he was like, "Okay, I'm not going to kill anyone today. I've wasn't a bad one. It just would have been funny watching his reaction. I mean, I'm even laughing quietly, which is bizarre. Right. I'm probably whispering so much that you're all going to fall asleep. And, well, seeing as though there's one animal that's sleeping on the property, Tingana's woken up, but Tristan's having a snooze.
Yes, well, Tingana is out cold at this stage. He is not in any way moving. It's too hot for our Duke at the moment. And like I say, he's probably, for an old man, been given the runaround by a slightly younger female the whole morning and even during the day a little bit. So pretty sure he's a tired boy and just wants to get a nice rest and relaxation and just take it very, very easy for now while the sun is still so hot. But what I'm really hoping is that, the direction that they've kind of headed during the course that I've seen them this morning and even this afternoon when we were trying to look for them, it's southwards. And so what I'm hoping is that by some miracle, because of how hot it is that Tingana walks her all the way down to the dam cam and we get them nicely out in the open at some point. The thing is, though, is once they get into that kind of section, we're going to have to be very careful with that female. We're going to have to try and give her a lot of space and try and allow her just to realize that we're not out here to get her and that walking out in the open is okay. She's going to try and stay as much in the thickets as she can. Tingana obviously won't care. He'll just walk on the path that suits him best, but she'll kind of be a little bit more tricky to keep up with. And so I'm hoping they do head that way. It's going to probably take most of the afternoon of being really patient with them like this and allowing them just to kind of lie here and rest and just hide out from the heat. But once we get to about 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock, that's when that temperature is really going to start to dip, and that hopefully will mean these guys will start getting a little bit more active and move southwards. The problem is we might lose visual then, is because unless they walk on the path where I am on this side of the bank, we're really going to struggle to keep up with them. So I'm just hoping that when they do walk, that they decide to take the nice easy path, and that will make my life a lot easier. Larissa, I'm sure she's aware that there is a female to her north. I don't think she's aware that the female is right here on Djuma right now. Remember that they kind of went through Djuma this morning and crossed into Buffelshoek. There was no sign of Tundi at all. Taylor didn't pick up any tracks, as far as I know, on our eastern boundary for Tundi coming back from Torchwood. So at this stage, you might find that Tundi has no idea that she's actually even on Djuma anymore, but she will know that there is a female to her north. These leopards are amazing creatures. They are very perceptive and very aware of their surroundings. Also remember that any cat or any territorial animal is going to try and push for as big a territory as possible until they meet resistance. And so you'll find with Tundi, I'm pretty sure she's been up northwards and has come across the scent of this female and maybe just knows, okay, there's a dominant female up there. I have my area. This is where we kind of stay. But if Tundi finds her, particularly around the dam central area, you're going to see she's not going to be very impressed at all, and she'll in all likelihood try and chase this female away as much as possible. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. I'm pretty sure this female is only here because of Tingana. I don't think she really wants to spend much time in this area at all. This is uncomfortable to her. It's foreign sort of country, and so she's here because Tingana is kind of dragging her this way. He was the one that sort of moved down into this section, and she's kind of followed him along. So I'm pretty sure that she will eventually move back into Buffelshoek, and that should be fine for Tundi. But yes, if Tundi does come across here, let's say this evening, she hears all of this and she moves into this direction, she is not going to be impressed that there is another female in her area, and that her male is kind of dragging this other female deeper into the territory. Right, we were saying that it is going to be a spotty day, and it sounds like, well, Brent has caught up with our favorite spotty cat, and he's got himself a meal.
And Hassan has caught up with something else. And from what I could see, it looks like he has managed to catch a little tiny baby inyala. So not much of a meal. I'd say there's probably more meat on a diker, and it looks like he's pretty much scoffed the whole thing already. So he was left about 2.5, 3 kilometers from here at about 9 o'clock this morning. And we were actually on his tracks when Taxon called us and said he'd found him actually very close to camp. We're not far from Gallagher Pan. munching away. Well done, little man. I'm not quite sure what you said there. Emma, can you go again, please? Oh, Two Winds trying to get me into trouble. He says, take that, vegans. Yes, well, I doubt you would ever find a vegan leopard. To be honest, you'll find very few vegan safari guides, to be honest as well. That old adage, meat is meat, and you must eat. So, even though he's almost finished eating everything, it's not a very big meal for him. Now, he might hunt again a little bit later. You can see how he's turning his head to the side to use his premolars like a pair of side cutters, and that's to cut through the skin. Bart would like to know, what do I think a leopard's favourite meal is? Bart, the one he can catch. Or the free one. The one he can steal from another leopard or another predator. Anything free is great. Now, he's obviously caught this, I would guess, probably around midday. And it's actually quite a good idea to hunt at this time of the day, because what that means, sorry, I was trying to turn down my game drive radio, it was very loud. What it means is that he's not in competition with the hyenas or lions, because they are going to be really flat. It's unusual in this part of the world to see a hyena out scavenging at this time of the day. Even though we're not that far away from the Aubrey's hyena den. There's very, very, very little left. Hi guys. Come in, Yari, on Gallagher Shortcut. Yeah. Enjoy. Well, I was in bed. It was Tristan. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Have a good drive. So there we go. I mean, it's almost a little left. I mean, he looked up like he might want to take it up the tree, but there's almost nothing left that's worthwhile taking up the tree there. I'm going to reposition, try to get us a little bit closer. While I do that, let's send you back to Taylor, who's even closer to a pachyderm.
We are. I have to talk really, really softly now. I don't know, can you hear me, Emma? There's a bit of wind. Thank you for mechanically turning my volume up, because we couldn't be more than about, I don't know, 45, 50 meters away. Let me see. I can't move around too much, otherwise I would have set myself right there so you could have looked over my shoulder. But it's a little bit too late to move now. But they're all slowly doing very, very soft rumbles. They're basically saying to one another now, let's move, let's go, let's move somewhere else. So they're kind of just rallying everyone this young calf so close to us is just absolutely incredible. And the smells, oh my goodness, the smells. It's like the elephants have this incredible earthy undertone to them. It's kind of like a very pleasant smelling stable. I believe you're all very happy that I've decided to stay. Well, we decided to stay because, well, Brent's got Hosanna, which is epic, and Tristan's got Tingana, so there's so much content around, we don't actually need to go and do too much. So I said to Rexon and Darby, we might as well just sit with these Eddies for as long as possible. I'm hoping that we can actually just sit here and they just feed past us. It wouldn't surprise me if they change direction again, as this is what they typically do when they're feeding. You know, they don't have a one direction that they'll move in. I'm not talking about the band, but you know, they'll just sort of pop from area to area, feasting away. And there really is nothing palatable for them to eat. There's nothing that's easy. So at the moment, they're using a lot of energy trying to consume them. Basically, they're wanting to suckle and mum's not really standing still or allowing them to do so. Wow, I wish everybody could have an experience like this. It's truly, for me, it's hands down the best thing you could encounter on a safari is something like this. I just actually got a fright because I was like, oh, those elephants are close when they broke the branch. This is awesome. We get to sit in the shade. There's a breeze blowing and I get to sit with my favorite animal in the whole wide world. It really, really doesn't get better than this, I'm afraid. This is like the epitome of cool in my books. Well, I'm going to keep sitting here with these elephants and flicking the ants off of my legs as they try to crawl up my shorts. Tristan is still sitting with Tingana, but I think he's going to play the patience game this afternoon.
Indeed, we are playing the patience game. We are sitting, waiting for our Duke to pop his head up, because I think that will attract our female to come in. And, oh, hello, are you having a little twitch there? Is there an insect bothering you, or are you talking in your sleep like your son? Tingy? Whatever it is, he's talking like his son. Father, son are the same. Now, we had Hosanna do the exact same thing the other day. Maybe not as twitchy around the eye, but definitely a little murmuring around the whisker area. I can't see any flies landing on his whiskers that would trigger him to be reacting that way. And you can see, look at his paws are even twitching too. Are you having a proper dream, Tingy? Look at his paws. Maybe he's dreaming about running away from this female and getting some peace and quiet. Or he's fighting with somebody in his dream, because there's lots of twitching going on. This is classic. Look. You can see his feet are even going. Shame, boy. This is a proper dream you're having. It looks like a roller coaster that he's on. His body is going all over the place. His paws are moving. Even his toes are... Even his toes are wiggling. Shame, boy. It was obviously a very good dream that he's having, because there's lots and lots of movement that's taking place. How funny is this? Absolutely classic. Mrs. Anna, you say so cute? Yes, it is very cute, considering we're talking and he's still sleeping. I think he's going to wake himself up with the amount of movement he's doing. He's kind of jerking and twitching all over the place. I wonder what he's dreaming about, or what is going through his mind that he's twitching all over the place. Very, very cute. Now, before we kind of watch him lull off again, let's send you back across quickly to Asana, who's going to have to compete with the scavenger.
Okay, well, a hyena appeared out of nowhere. Hasana has taken what is left up the tree, and that happened seconds ago. So I'm just going to move around because he's in a horrible angle from the light. So let's pop around. The hyena managed to get one spindly little Inyala leg. Watch out there, batters. How's that for you, Craigo? Ah, there's quite a few interesting things going on here. So before we go look at Hasana up in the tree, if you look in this hole here, there's a very specific species of fly that is endemic to aardvarks. And that means there is actually an aardvark in this hole at this very moment. Now, they're disturbed a little bit. So they actually wait at the entrance of an aardvark burrow, and when the aardvark goes out at night... Oh, he's going higher, Craig, sorry. Look at that. Look at him go. Sana, you're going to climb over our heads just now. Isn't that awesome? So that proves that you never know what's going to happen out here. I mean, the chances of a hyena being up and awake at this time of the day in this heat is very slim. But as I said, we are quite close to the hyena den. Isn't that awesome? He's directly above us there. He's watching. There's the hyena there. So there's the hyena that sent him scurrying up the tree. I can't see exactly who it is from the Djuma clan since it's hiding behind a bush. Now, Jess is wondering, will Hasana eat the bones of that baby Inyala? Yes, it is a young enough animal that he will almost certainly eat the bones. We should be able to hear him crunching through them shortly, actually. Now, while he's crunching through the bones of that baby Inyala, who can tell me what tree he's sitting in? It's an evergreen. It likes to grow on termite mounds. It has bright red flowers. Hashtag SafariLive if you can tell me what tree Hasana is sitting in. Okay, look at him. He's watching that hyena now. Jason is wondering, how high could a leopard climb? Well, it depends on the type of trees. I'd say, what is he now? 1, 2, 4. He's probably 7, 8 meters up at the moment. So they can climb. I've seen leopards 20 meters, 25 meters up. It all just depends on the type of tree. It's not the most comfortable tree for him. Not a lot of shade, and it's still quite warm, and he's sitting in the sun. Fred, it is not a marula tree that Hosanna is sitting in at the moment. Zephyr, it is not a jackalberry either. Mrs. Lapwing, it is indeed not in a Mopani. We don't get Mopani trees in the Sabi Sands. Well done, Nico. It is indeed a weeping bourbine, Scotia brachypetala. Now, they should be flowering quite soon, so we're going to see lots of beautiful scarlet flowers. Isn't this absolutely stunning? Way up, right above us. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I mean, there was very little left of this carcass already. So, I think it's a good... There he is, watching the hyena again. Look at that. I mean, he's crunched through the whole skull already. Actually, you saw the brains spew out. He's just trying to get comfortable at the moment. As I said, it's not in the best spot for him. Also, he's right in the sun there, so he's getting a bit warm. Okay, let's move around. What do you think, Craig? Let's get around to the other side of the tree. Okay, well, I get ourselves into a different position. Let's send you back to Taylor with elephants on foot.
Yep, we haven't moved except the Ellies know we're here now. A couple of them and some of the bigger cows have stopped and had a look at us, but not done anything threatening other than just stare at us and kind of smell. So I'm still going to keep my voice down. That's not going to change. You can see there's one cow. She's facing us now, the big girl. Cool. So that one that you're looking at, she knows we're here and she's basically just keeping an eye on us. She's got a little calf, but she's so relaxed with us, she doesn't mind. She obviously knows that we're just going to sit here and be quiet and not disturb them. I'm sure she was a bit shocked initially that she didn't realize we were here from the get-go. But the fact that she didn't flap her ears at us, that she didn't do any of those things, we're not going to move, we're not going to back off. We'll just sit and let them feed around us. She's given us the go-ahead that she's fine with it. She doesn't mind us being here, but if we were to move around and shuffle, we'd definitely cause a bit of a problem. You see the fact that she's eating, but still keeping an eye on us. She's not pretending to feed, like sometimes the elephant bulls will do. So that's really good, and I think she's one of the more dominant cows in this herd too. I don't know if she's quite the matriarch, but she's definitely one of the older cows. There's another youngster who's just having the most amazing sand bath now, just in the middle off to the right of the marula tree. And I think it's a young bull, looks like a young bull. And everybody seems to be dust bathing in the same spot. I mean, you see the starlings follow the elephants and the drongos, but you don't really see oxpeckers on elephants. They don't have a lot of hair on their body, and the hair that they do have is quite coarse. Also, the ticks that are on the large engorged ticks. And elephants don't have, I suppose, they don't have as many ticks on their bodies as, say, something like an impala does. They definitely do have ticks. We see them from time to time. But it's quite difficult, and I suppose there's only a certain type of tick that can maybe get through the tough hide of an elephant's skin. I'm sure inside their ears, around their sort of nether regions, you might find populations of smaller species of ticks where it's warm, maybe slightly moist. I know a lot of people don't like that word moist. I have a few friends that and moist, and I've forgotten the other one. But there's one other word that a couple of my friends can't even say the word, which I think is ridiculous. But in those sort of areas, then yes, you'll find maybe more ticks. It's just not worthwhile for an oxpecker to hop along the backs of a hippo. The backs of an elephant. But in the Mara, you obviously see the cattle egrets following the elephants around. But again, they're not feeding off of the elephant like the drongos, like the starlings. They're waiting for the elephants to chase up insects. Tanya's ghost, yes. Elephants do sneeze because I suppose their trunk gets a bit ticklish every now and then. But they don't kind of sneeze like you and I sneeze. You'll see they'll blow out of their trunk. If you can kind of get what I mean when they don't like something. I can't make the noise and demonstrate, unfortunately, because that of course would be quite intimidating to an elephant if I started doing something like that. Oh, by the way, that steenbok we're talking about, it totally ran out and gave a couple of elephants a fright. I was giggling quietly, silent giggling. I was basically just doing the shoulder shake. There was no sound, because I don't want to upset them. Yes, the imaginary giggle. Yeah, that's correct. One thing though is my bottom is getting sore from sitting, but we can't stand up. We've committed to the sighting now, we've got to sit it out. Not that I'm complaining, please don't confuse that for a complaint. There's very little I can complain about today. I'm going to use the exact words that Emma has just said to me as my link, as I unnumb my bum. I'm going to send you back to Tristan with also the sleepy Tingana, who might have a numb bottom after his slumber.
Well, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? He's right at the top of that scotia. And he's lucky he managed to sort of get up and out of there before the hyena found him. He saw the hyena at the last second. He's watching the hyenas. The hyenas are meandering about. There's now 2 hyenas, one sub-adult, and we can't really see them from where we are at the moment. Making sure there's none directly below him. Paula is wondering, do leopards tend to prefer climbing certain species of trees? I suppose that it's a yes and no answer. Again, it's like, what do leopards prefer to eat? Well, what's the easiest to catch and what's available? When there are other predators around, like hyenas, Oopsie, Emma's on the wrong radio. Sorry about that. So, yes, they do tend to enjoy certain species of trees. But again, if there's a lion or a hyena, or even a bigger male leopard around, the closest available tree tends to be the one that is chosen first. So it all depends on situations. But for lounging about in, jackalberries and marullas are quite favoured, and scotias. But when it comes to putting a killer in a tree, especially under pressure, the closest tree is the one you want. So I'm just listening to the game drive radio at the moment, because I just heard there's been another female leopard found just to the north of our boundary. I'm just trying to find out if it's the one that was with, it's a skittish female, so it could be the one that was with Tingana this morning, but unlikely. It's a bit too far away. I think it's the other skittish female from the north. Also unnamed as of yet. Look at the hyena right below the leopard now. Hoping for some titbits to fall down. Oh, don't drop it now, Husana. And he looked like he might have a little bit of a whoopsie there as he was moving around. Jason is wondering, what is the bite force of a leopard? Jason, to be honest, I've forgotten. I think it's around, I'm not 100% sure. You guys are going to have to double check me. I have absolutely forgotten. I think it's around 450, 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. I could be wrong. Might even be less, actually. Maybe between 350 and 450 would be my guess. But as I say, for some reason that information has departed my brain and I cannot remember. Enough to hurt. Okay, so we're going to wait patiently to see what Hasana gets up to next. He might go for a drink at Gallagher Pan. While we do that, let's send you back to Tristan and Tingana.
Well, Brenty, it seems patience is the order of the day, because well, we are also waiting very patiently with Tingana for his mistress to arrive and to show up on the scene. It's really starting to cool down quite nicely now, so I'm really hoping that she's going to get up and start kind of making an appearance fairly shortly. But for now, it's all still the same. Tingana is still fast asleep, panting away, trying to stay nice and cool, and still no sign of her reappearing once again. I would imagine, though, that she must make an appearance fairly soon. It's been quite a while since they've mated. They mated when we first got here, just before we saw all of you guys for the very first time with them. And so it's about that kind of time now. I'm hoping that if we just be patient, and I'm pretty sure we will get a really good view of both her and him once again. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and it's worth just sitting here. The more we sit here, the more we talk, the more kind of Seb and I move around on the car, the more she's going to realize that we're not a threat to her and that we're not going to chase her or hurt her in any way. And that should go a long way to trying to help kind of get this leopard to start realizing that vehicles are not the enemy, and then they're not going to hurt her in any single way whatsoever. And so it's important just to sit here, even though the visuals are not good, and even though we're struggling to kind of get any sort of thing out of them, it's an important kind of task to try and help us establish this female as a potential leopard we can follow up in the future. Remember, what could easily happen is you never know how things work. What we could have, Tandi at some point is going to not be in this area, and you never know. This female could easily be sucked into that void. We saw it when Karula disappeared, how multiple different females arrived, and that could easily mean that this female does the same thing and kind of sucks into Juma. So it's important to start doing some work now. It's already very late in her life to try and change her behavior, but if we can just keep at it and keep trying and keep looking and keep sort of being respectful to her space, eventually we should be able to get her at least viewable. At the moment, though, I think if she was on her own, she would be almost impossible to find and to look at. But given that Tingana's here, it's kind of a perfect opportunity to do so. The only other ways that you'd get this right is to spend a lot of time with her on a kill and to try and just kind of keep nice and quiet. And I had a chat to the other guides today, to Tax and Aubrey and a few of the others, and just to try and see if we can maybe kind of keep her sighting as a one vehicle sighting for now, and just try and see if that helps with getting her a little bit more relaxed, particularly now that she's mating with Tingana. If it's in a very big open space where there's no need for vehicles to move too much, then I suppose we could do 2 up there and just see how she responds. But there's no doubt that this morning when we were kind of with her, she was far better off than what I had been hearing on the radio, because what I heard on the radio is that she just wasn't viewable at all, and she was just kind of running around all over the place, and we definitely did not have that same experience. We got to see her relatively well. In fact, it was a bit tricky at times and you had to be a bit quiet and wait, but she definitely wasn't as uncomfortable as I thought. What's interesting with her, though, it's typical kind of leopard, is that she doesn't like to be seen out in the open, so she likes to kind of sit there, and if she's behind a little bush and you can see her and she can see you through that bush, she's quite happy. She doesn't move at all. But if she's lying out in the open and you get a straight line of sight with her and there's nothing between you and her, then she doesn't really like it as much, and she'll just slink in behind a bush and then lie down again. So thickets are her kind of friend, and that's exactly what she's probably doing now. She's probably in all likelihood watching us. I just can't see her at all. I've been scouting about under all these bushes, trying to check for any sign of movement, a flick of an ear, a flick of a tail, but so far no sign as yet. She will come out, though. There's definitely going to be a time where she's going to come and mate. As it cools, these two are going to have to go for water. They must have lost a lot of moisture during the course of the day. They've been active, they've been moving, and so I'm pretty sure that they will go for water, both of them, and that's going to be our opportunity to really get a good sighting of these two. So, like I say, patience pants for now, and while we sit with our patience pants on, Brent has got his patience pants on. It sounds like he doesn't really need them because Hosana is clowning around in the tree.
He dropped the last of his meal and he's about to descend the tree if the hyena gives him a gap. That is gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Those eyes, those eyes. I'm just trying to think. What do you oh no, we're not going to have time to move. We're going to have to sit it out right here as he comes down. Isn't that magic, guys? That was awesome. Here he comes, that little prince himself, not worrying about the hyenas. The hyenas are just on the other side of the termite mound. Tom is wondering, do hyenas actually hunt, or do they just use leftovers? Now, Tom, a lot of hyena behavior is area specific rather than species specific. In the Mara, the hyenas will hunt a lot more than they will scavenge, but all hyenas love a good scavenge. But even in this area, I would say the hyenas will hunt more than they scavenge. Okay, we're gonna have to move around a little bit to get ourselves in a slightly better spot to see him. Okay, some big stumps I want to try avoid. Okay, hold on. Oh, thorns. Eek. There we go. Let's have a look there now. How's that, Batters? You got a gap? Yeah, good. We got one? Happy? There we go, we'll just sit here for now. And now you can see he's giving himself a good clean. The hyenas are still around, but he's not too plussed. Without food, the hyenas don't really pose a threat to him. Shishik is wondering how many kilos of meat should a leopard eat in a day. Well, it's not really a day. They can actually go probably 10 days without a meal. But on average, a male leopard will eat about 2.5 kilos a day. Of course, he'll sit sometimes and eat 15 kilos or 20 kilos in a go. But on average, over the month, it probably works out to about 2 to 2.5 kilograms a day. Now, if we're lucky, which I hope he's going to do, is he might head down to Galago Pan for a drink after he's finished grooming himself. Peggy is asking whether Hosanna is smaller than his dad. Well, to be 100% honest, Peggy, you can't 100% say who Hosanna's dad is without doing genetic testing. Female leopards will often mate with 4 or 5 different males during an estrus cycle, even moving 2 to 3 territories out of their home territory to try and ensure that when they have cubs, any male that might possibly come into contact with their cubs thinks they're the father. But if you're asking whether he is smaller than Tingana, he is much smaller than Tingana, probably about 20 kilograms, 25 kilograms smaller than Tingana still. He's only, what is he now, February? Yeah, he's still got a lot of growing to do. He's only going to reach his full weight at about 6 years old, 5, 6 years old. So he's still got a lot of growing to do, a lot of filling out. And you can see he's panting quite heavily now that he's fat and full. Well, we're going to continue to sit here with Hosanna. And while we do that, let's send you back to Madam McCurdy, who's probably now relishing the chance she has to be loud because she's left the Ellies.
Yes, I don't have to whisper anymore. I don't know, what's this volume? I can't think of what kind of volume this is. This is me normally whisper. Normal. Emma's hilarious today. She says the way that I'm speaking now is normal people volume. I'm still not going to trumpet as loud as an elephant, although I could. Nah, their trumpets are still deafening. My voice, well, sometimes. But the whole herd has pretty much moved away from us now, so they fed right near us, and then they're just carrying on with their day. Most of the herd has moved back towards Warburg's Row now, and I'll probably continue down into that drainage line. So I don't really know where we're going to go from here. We'll just go wandering. Unfortunately, we don't have the light on our side, so we're not going to go too far now. We've already got about another hour or so out before we're going to have to get back. I suppose we could cover some ground. We'll see, I don't know what we're going to do. Now, Rosalind, elephants feed for, goodness gracious, a number of hours. They can feed up for about 19 hours a day. They pretty much don't stop eating. The only time if they're not eating, they're drinking water or they're having a sleep. like a little siesta. So they do spend most of their time just munching away. And I was saying this morning, at this time of the year, they've got to do a whole lot more feeding, or put a whole lot more energy into feeding, because it's not just as simple as grabbing a tuft full of grass or a trunk full of leaves and popping it into your mouth. This takes worse. This is breaking branches, then it's twisting the branch in your mouth. If you just want the bark, sometimes they eat the whole branch. Then you've got to get down and do a headstand to hook your tusks underneath the roots, then pull them up, then you got to stand up again, then you got to shake the dirt off of it. I mean, it's a shame. It's taxing on these animals. But of course they are used to it. So I think most of the time at this time of the year, yes, they're trying to feed, but they're not getting as much sustenance in the time that they would if they were feeding in summer, where there's just an abundance. But summer's just around the corner, and the rainy season should arrive. And marulated fruit will drop in February, and then they'll be so happy. Super happy. Goodness, well, very exciting, even though the elephants have moved away from us. Finally, the king of Djuma, or the Duke, is awake.
Well, he is awake indeed. He's got his head up now and looking about, and I'm hoping that's going to trigger that female to come in and try and mate with him. It's why we kind of asked for for Taylor to come to us, because I'm hoping that with his head up, she spotted that, and she's going to move in and try and mate with him. We also heard what sounded like a hyena calling, not very close by, but definitely not that far away either, and it's what perked Tingana up. It's why he woke up and started looking around. And so I'm just kind of hoping that her sort of area, maybe she just sees him and slowly starts to creep her way in towards where he is. There she's coming now. There we go. So exactly what we thought. As soon as her head comes up, or his head comes up, so she starts to come in. Now Seb can just see her in the background, which is very cool. So hopefully she's going to just slink her way in. Come on, girl. Don't be scared. Everything is okay. There she comes. Just kind of hidden in the thicket. Come on, girl. Look at her. She's just checking us out, just making sure we're not anything to worry about. It's okay. It's okay. We're not going to chase you. Come on. So there she's going to come around the back of him, and she's going to rub up against him. Now, this is complete instinct is outweighing her fear, but look at the size difference now when Tingana stands up. Look at how much bigger he is than her when they're there. He almost makes her appear to be a bit cub-like, given his size. Now, she's not a small female. She's not a very small female at all, but she is very light in coloration. But look at that, isn't that magic? So our patience has paid off, just sitting and waiting. Now, Tingy, don't you go down over that bank. I'm talking to you. Now, you see, she's going to watch us a little bit. No, he's going to lie down there, perfect. Now, she's going to watch us, and I'm intrigued to see her behavior from here. So she's rolled a little bit, and I want to see what she's going to do with us, whether she's happy just to lie there for a bit and actually just, now that we're parked and we're quite quiet, is happy for us to be in her presence. I mean, that's not a cat that is too bad at this stage. It's okay, girl. We're not here to hurt you. Cal6, she will take behavioral clues from Tingana. It's just, you know, her experience so far in life has been to hide away from cars, and so it's not easy just to break that. It's like maybe comparing it to somebody that is a smoker. You know, they become it becomes a habit, and to break a habit is it takes a while. Now you see Tingana's not impressed. He doesn't want to mate just yet, so he's snarling at her, and so she's just going to go and sit there. Now, her behavior is not one of a complete fear around us. She's cautious of us, and that means that she's kind of getting used to the fact that Tingana is around. If you remember the first sighting that Taylor had of her, he had to chuff and call her out, whereas in this instance, she's actually voluntarily coming out and coming not too far away from us. I mean, yes, we are parked further than what we would normally park from Tingana, but she's still coming out, and now she's even sitting there and just kind of looking around. He's not even paying us attention. Now, here comes the hyena that woke them up initially. Now, this is not a good thing for us, unless the hyena can push these guys away from this particular area. The hyena, I don't think, would take on these two, given that there's two leopards here and just one hyena. I think the hyena would be very brave to try to take on two different leopards. But isn't this exciting? Look at this. Slowly going to come in. It's now stopped. I think it's seen the leopard. Now, Em, I don't know. Might want to take this to a wider audience if they pause for a little bit. Let's just see. I'm pretty sure this hyena is just going to stop and see Tingana. It's going to look around. Often with hyenas, they just assess the situation. So they stop, they look, they just sniff. Oh no, it's going to lie right there. It's decided, nope, I'm going to see if you guys are going to move. The good thing about that is that I'm hoping it's going to make Tingana and this female move to our right, so from their left-hand side, and not across into the drainage line. I'm hoping this is going to maybe push them a little bit into more open stuff rather than the thicket. But you can see she's lying there now, completely unfazed by us. She's got her back to us. She's not even looking at us, which is exactly what we wanted. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, and we'll get this female right eventually. So proud cat mama generally no. So generally they're not on the lookout for mating. I mean, for a meal while they're mating, but when there is an opportunity, so potentially, let's say, a duiker ran straight into them, they certainly won't say no. They'll still be able to take that opportunity and will still be able to try and get that meal. So they still will hunt if an opportunity presents itself, but generally, no, they're going to be focused pretty much on mating. Now, it's super awkward. This hyena is just watching these two mating. I suppose it's much like us as well. Maybe it is an awkward thing to watch these cats go about it, but it's incredibly interesting to watch and super rare to kind of see how it goes. Now, Emma finds this super awkward. Emma, you're in the same camp as Megan. So Megan, who was a director, also she used to find mating cats very, very awkward. And for me, it's just interesting behavior. It's interesting to watch how the two of them go about it. But I'm so chuffed at how she's responding to our presence right now. It just goes to show that if you're quiet and you sit still and you don't move too much, that she's actually not too bad. I know Tingana is definitely guiding her through this, and she's taking cues from him, and that's why she's kind of sitting as much as she is and probably as close as she is. But it's still a good sign. It's a sign that she's getting a little bit better than what she was. Now she's going to slink off away from the hyena a little bit, and I'm sure she's going to flop down somewhere in the background there. So ginger, it's obviously very dependent on the individual. Some leopards habituate very quickly, within a few weeks or months. Others take a very long time. To give you kind of an idea with Tingana, he took probably, to get him like he is now, I think it was probably about 6 months it took us to get him viewable with 3 vehicles like he is now, where he walks past the car. So it gives you an idea, and the reason why is because you can't find these cats every single day. This female, once she breaks from Tingana, is going to be like a ghost. She's going to be very difficult to find, and so what you need to find is her kind of mating. We need to find her on kills where hunger overrides fear, spend time there, and then what we need to find is her at a den site and her around her babies, because that drive to go and find her cubs and feed her cubs will outweigh her fear once again. And after that, she starts to realize that you're not stealing her food, you're not chasing her mates away, and you're not harming her babies, and that generally leads to a female starting to just kind of relax a little bit. The problem is that I find females are a lot harder to habituate than males when they are older like this. As cubs, it's not a problem, but when they're older, the females are already so ingrained and so secretive about what they do that they tend to be a lot more difficult to kind of break, whereas the males, they sort of, as they become dominant, so there's this attitude and arrogance almost about them that it kind of comes with the territory as they establish themselves. Whereas a female, she's been around here probably for many years and just has never really gotten that attention. And because she's not getting that attention, she's now thinking, well, why was all of a sudden people following me around? And that's really tricky. So you're going to have to do a lot of work with this female, and you'd have to track her a lot and find her regularly, even if it's for short, brief glimpses, and just until she starts to realize, no, everything's okay and we're not here to harm her. But it's going to take a long time. What amazes me about this is that obviously she's in this area, and everyone keeps calling her this female from Buffelshoek, the shy female from Buffelshoek. That's the one with the 2 cubs, or had 2 cubs. but I don't think it's her, because another female leopard has just been found on Buffelshoek that is also shy. So I'm pretty sure that there is more than one female leopard on Buffelshoek. In fact, I know for sure that there is. The size of that area would dictate that there has to be more than one. And so much like Ejima, you know, all these females are being lumped into the same leopard's basket. But she should be fairly easy to identify, like I say, with the little V in her left ear and that little cut on or scar on her right side of her mouth. You should be able to kind of start to get a nice ID kit going for her, and people starting to recognize her rather than the other, and try to build up a bit of a database. Good. We're going to carry on with them. They're right here. It's an epic afternoon. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor.
So we've moved on from the elephants, although they're just behind us. We'll have to pick up the pace. But look at the squirrels. We've got silhouetted squirrels. Now, they're very funny. I think the one that you can see now is the one that had a marula nut in its mouth. And then there's another one just sitting on the other side of the marula tree. They're so funny. I don't know what they're doing. They're teasing one another, but they're flicking their tails around. They're making sort of very soft, sort of murmuring, chitter-chatter noises. It's like they're showing off and saying, look what I found. I found the last marula nut of the season. Hoo, 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 hoo. It's kind of like us in camp. Whoever finds the last 2 pieces of chocolate before Harold from Pick and Pay comes to deliver our food. It's like they're bragging. It's really, really so funny. But it's quite nice to have that sort of silhouetted version. Initially, Rexon stopped because he thought they'd spotted something. But now as we sit and kind of watch their behavior, I don't think so. I think they're just enjoying the afternoon, finding all sorts of hidden treats. Maybe one is trying to bribe the other one. Who knows? I don't really know what's going on here, but it's very interesting to watch. That one just won't put the nut down. It's just carrying it everywhere. So it really is like it's showing off. Oh, just jumped down onto the stick. That's so epic. Guys, remember we are on bushwalk, so how epic is a sighting to have on foot. Also, Darby's camera work again is just out of control. Stop showing off. You're making me look bad. I'm trying to make me look good. That's what you're doing. No, I think the other one actually ran down onto the ground. I think they've gone. They both disappeared down the trunk of the marula tree. That was nice. That was quite cool to see. Not something that you get to see kind of every day. Very special. Very, very, very special. So while we were sitting with the elephants, we did hear kind of like some animals alarming. Bushbuck maybe? Something that barks. Don't think it was a dog, but coming in that direction. It's a very unhappy teenage elephant or a young calf wanting to suckle. Dinosaur noises out here, but don't worry, there's no dinosaurs because they're extinct. Anyways, so Rexon heard something down there, so that's basically what we're going to investigate. I'm assuming we're just going to do a bit of a loop and then we'll come back, because already the sun is, you can see it's got a light, it's just so golden. So that's pretty much what we're going to do for the rest of the afternoon. I think so. I don't know why I'm whispering again. Very cool. Well, there's definitely a well-used pathway for hyenas, because we had to pick up a whole lot of litter too around this area from the hyenas getting into camp and stealing things they're not supposed to. So we did our duty today. Remember to always pick up the litter. Right, off we go to Brent. Hosanna is on the move.
On the move through some very, very thick and nasty stuff. So I hope he should pop out at Gallagher Pan shortly for a drink. Oh, bouncy, bouncy. Let's try and get in a good spot. Let's see, where do we think Hassan is going to drink? Yep, here he comes. So I'm just going to get around to the other side. He disappeared for a while. Gave us, whoops, he Daisy. Craig, you still there? Oh, Craig's still there. It doesn't matter. So where do we think he's going to come down for a drink? If he does at all, I think he will. Where do you want to be, Batters? Here. You're a little bit further on, you want? Okay. Not as backlit. I like backlit. Craig doesn't like backlit as much. Happy? So here he comes. The little chief himself. So that's exactly what we were hoping he was going to do after he was finished eating, was to march down to the waterhole. that. You can even see how dry it is, the dust coming off his feet as he approaches. He is a truly beautiful young male. Now, the thing about male leopards is while they're young, they are exquisitely gorgeous. Now, as they become older, they are definitely impressive, but they're just definitely not as beautiful. They become more brawny. Beautiful. So guys, send me a one-word tweet what you think of this sighting. Hashtag SafariLive. What do you think of this sighting? Mila is wondering, do I think Hosana will take over Tingana's territory? I think it's unlikely. It's always a possibility, but it is unlikely. It's very, very seldom that a male leopard will take over his natal territory. Normally, between this age and about 3.5, they'll be pushed over by the other males around here. And now there is a very important reason for that. Hey, big boy. Now, if he were to stay in his natal territory, no problem. We've got Tandi still here and Kalamba getting older now. He would end up mating with his relatives. So that's one of the reasons male leopards disperse. It's so they don't end up mating with their direct relatives. There we go. Constance says awesome. And who said perfect? I didn't quite hear that, but I think that's a good one. Perfect. Cal6 said perfect. Perfect indeed. As are most afternoons that we get to spend with Hosana. Mrs. Lapwing says refreshing. Well, for Hosana, not so much for us. It's quite sweaty and warm here, but a small price to pay for sitting next to this wonderful leopard. Should we change the angle, Craig? Zephyr said, Hosonorific. Now let's just try maybe change the angle a little bit. Try get a bit front on him. We can have a look at his face straight on. Okay, well, I'll get us into a different Hosana viewing position. Let's go see how Tristan's doing with the mating pair.
Well, good luck, Brent Leo-Smith. Find yourself a good spot there. The mating pair is still just kind of watching what's going on. There's been a few go-away birds shouting at them. Our hyena friend is still lying with them at the moment, and they just kind of scouting about. So both female and male kind of just looking around and seeing what's going on. Now, I've seen a lot of you quoting that this female is called the skittish female. That's not her name. She doesn't have a name. She just is. That's how her nature is that she's shy and skittish and unrelaxed. She does not have a name at the moment, so she's an unknown female to us. We don't know her name at all. I suppose in time we might give her one if we start to see her more regularly, but she doesn't have a name at this stage. She's just one of those females, and obviously it's not up to us to even associate a name with these particular leopards. You know, these kind of leopards need to be kind of given their IDs by those that will work here, the guides that are here. So Tax, Aubrey, Rex, Herbie, and then any of the sort of landowners that want to get involved can as well. But she definitely doesn't have a name at the moment. I just refer to her as a skittish female, so not the skittish female, just a skittish female that is around. So that's not actually her name at this stage. Now, I'm pretty sure we all see these guys move about again. Tingana looks like he's starting to fall asleep a bit and get a bit dopey once more, as he can only do. And so I'm pretty sure that we're going to be kind of sitting for a little bit longer, waiting. Unless he moves, she's going to also just have a bit of a break. It's quite interesting to watch her. She's in all the sort of mating sessions we've seen, it seems that she mates twice with him fairly rapidly after one another, and then she goes and lies off and rests for quite a while, and then she comes back again and does it kind of 2 times and then back again. So Tingana's just going to rest. It's getting to that perfect time of the day now. The light is getting much lower. There's a bit of a breeze blowing. The temperature has decreased massively now, and so I would imagine it's not the worst time now for our leopards to actually start kind of getting a little bit more active and maybe moving around. But as I say, that Tingana flops down and begins his next bout of sleeping. So we're going to have to just be patient and wait. So we've got a sleepy hyena, 2 sleepy leopards, and poor Seb and I that are just trying to kind of figure out where we're going to go. Should we try and get a better position or at least a slightly better view of them? And I can tell you that there isn't really anywhere that we can go. So Francis, the reason they always fight after mating is because the female gets hurt. So the male has a barb on the end of his penis that hurts her when he retracts, and that causes her to get a bit angry with him and turns around and she uses claws and teeth, and that makes the male upset, and so he swats her back. So that's the basic reason why there is a lot of anger and aggression during the mating period. It's just simply because it's not a pleasant experience for the female. A barbed piece of genitalia being inserted is probably not the most comfortable thing, I'm not going to lie, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't really appreciate it at all, and so that's why she gets a bit grumpy. Some of them are worse than others. You'll find Tundi can be quite something when she mates. She gets very vicious, and I'm quite interested and intrigued to see what Shadulu is like. I watched some footage of Hukumuri and Shadulu and Hukumuri and Tiani, and it all seemed fairly civil in comparison to what I've seen. Karula also used to be quite feisty as well. She used to also swat back at the males and have a bit of a go at them. The worst that can happen when they mate like this is when the female turns and tries to swat at the male and her claw hooks on him, because then it just becomes a full-on warfare, because he gets hurt as well, and the claw's kind of stuck in his face is not a pleasant experience for him, and so he gets very grumpy with her, and then you kind of get this fight that ensues. And I've seen some really big fights after mating when that happens, and it does happen quite regularly. You can imagine their claws are razor sharp, and it just kind of hooks in on the cheek or the nose area. Amount of growling and hissing and clawing and all kinds of nonsense. So very, very relaxed between these two, and hopefully there won't be too many altercations with them or any aggressive behavior. Good. Now Taylor McCurdy is still bouncing about on her bushwalk. I'm sure she's in a fantastic mood after her Ellie sighting, so let's go and find out what she has in store for us next.
Right, so we stopped and I had absolutely nothing, but then I saw something. Darby, I don't know what's going on here. There's an ant carrying something monstrous. Oh. Hang on, let me move out of the antenna. That's okay. Darby got me with the antenna, but that's okay. I deserved it. I'm standing the other side now. There's a teeniest, tiniest little ant. Actually, that mud wallow worked in your favour. So Darby's positioned himself nice and low, but he's also in a mud wallow, so it's actually not too awkward for him to film this. But I can't work out what he's got. Can you see what he's got? It's weird. I don't... Emma says it looks like some kind of fluff thing. This ant is really small, so I don't actually know what it is carrying. But either way, it probably weighs a whole lot more than that ant, but look how strong it is. I'm actually trying to navigate. I feel sorry, this just to give you context as to how small this ant is. Those are granules of sand. I'm actually going to, while you look at that ant, pick up some of the granules of sand so that you can see what it looks like in my hand in comparison to the massive obstacles that ant is trying to navigate, which I find quite funny. When you look at it from this angle, it's like they're massive boulders that it's trying to go over. But in fact, we'll stand this way. Yes, golden light sand, because you know who doesn't love a little golden light sand? Those are the kind of granules that poor little ant is navigating over and just struggling with. So that's a bit sad. Magic trick. Made it disappear. Just call me Houdini. Now let me not stand on the ant. That would be terrible. Imagine we just did a segment on and then I squashed it accidentally. That would be dreadful. I'd feel really horrible and bad. Cool. Well, we're just walking. We're still investigating as to why there was an antelope of some kind barking in this area. Rexon's down up ahead. We did come across all the lion tracks from the Mangeni boys. The two young male lions, unfortunately, have got mange. And we can just see where they were walking up and down. Basically, we walked the area where they had a warthog kill, which I suspect was stolen, which they stole from a leopard. So I don't know where they've gone, though. I don't know if anyone's seen them, if they've crossed out. But every night I hear lions contact calling, every night so far. And but no joy this morning. We didn't have any luck whatsoever. Can hear the odd ox pecker. But that could mean that there's maybe impala, kudu, something, anything around really. It could be a rhinoceros. It could be a hippo, because it's cooled down so nicely. Right, but we're going to make sure we keep an ear out so that that animal doesn't come too close to us. I'm going to send you back in that direction to Tristan.
So we saw Tingy, who's fast asleep, but we managed to get a nice view now of him, and if the female comes in to mate now, we would have the most epic kind of low angle look at the two of them, and hopefully they do it facing us rather than facing away from us, otherwise it's going to be a bit graphic. So just a warning already that if they do mate facing away, the only visual we will have will be one that will be a little on the graphic side. Anyway, in the meantime though, you can see a very, very sleepy Tingana. He's just waiting. I can see the female in the background. She's also she's got her head up at the moment, just kind of looking around, but is not really too kind of interested. She's not perky and alert and standing coming towards Tingana. She's just kind of got her paws forward and her head just sort of up a little bit, just kind of facing away from us. So there she is. You can just kind of make her out in amongst the thickets. And when I was saying that it's thick in here, I wasn't really joking. It is very, very thick. Kevin, Marion, do we have a spot count for her? Now, no, I don't, to be honest with you, but I'm pretty sure that our leopard gurus that watch the program do. So the James Richard would probably have one. So what was it there? Sorry, Emma, James Richard. 3-4. Yeah. 3-4 is what her spot pattern. There we go. Thank you, Emma. 3-4 is the spot pattern. Thank you, James, as well. James is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to not only our leopards, but hyenas and wild dogs and cheetahs and all kinds of things. So always willing to help when we call upon it. So thank you, James. Appreciate the help and for the information. So 3-4 is her spot pattern. I just kind of recognized her immediately from this morning, not because of the spot pattern. And to be honest with you, it's very seldom that I look at a spot pattern on a leopard. It's not something that has ever kind of worked well with me. I don't know why it is. I just try and use an overall appearance of a leopard more than anything else. Try and notice certain kind of nicks or scratches on the ears, the way the kind of face forms, eye color, and then just general body shape. And generally, I mean, I do get it wrong from time to time, and I should suppose be more scientific about it, but I don't know. For me, it's just easier to kind of recognize an overall appearance, especially at distances like this. There's no ways that I can see a spot pattern when I'm looking at this animal from this distance without having to get the camera to zoom right in. And even then, you know, between thickets when an animal's moving, trying to find whisker spot patterns is almost impossible. So getting to know a leopard's kind of general appearance, its kind of facial features, its way that it looks, is always a much better way for me personally to be able to ID leopards out here. It's different for everybody else. I know some of the guides out here are very scientific in the way that they kind of look at animals, and they'll know exact spot patterns, and that's how they'll kind of even give them IDs. But you know, my kind of way of doing things is generally just to learn what the animal looks like, much like you would with your pet. You know, you don't count your pet's spot or whisker spots or anything like that. If it had or any patches on its body, you just generally know its appearance. And so that's kind of how it is. I mean, we see them enough to really start to recognize them. And when there are new leopards, I try to do a lot of kind of look at them just to remember what they look like. So, Gio, how do spot patterns work? Well, this is a question that we get quite regularly, and so I shall go through it quickly while Tingana is sleeping. Seb, I'm going to ask you, though, to show my telephone, because it's much easier for me to point these things out on my telephone than it is to do so on Tingana's face, especially the way that he is lying at the moment. So now I just need to try and find a picture where I can use it rather easily and show you what we're talking about. And let's get a good example here. There's probably a very good example. Also, I like this leopard, and so I want to show you my favorite leopard anyway. There we go. All right. So what we have here is a picture of a leopard's face, as you can see, which is obviously very easy to tell that it is a leopard. This is a young male leopard called Tumba. And so when we talk about spot patterns, you've got the left side of the face, that is around this area here, and the right side. Now these whisker spots over here, while those can potentially be used, that is not what we're actually looking for. So when we refer to spots, we're referring to these spots over here. So that arrangement of spots in that area, and then the arrangement of spots on this side. So you can see Tumba has 1, 2, 3, and then there's a little kind of dot in the back there, so it kind of almost looks a bit 4-ish there on the left side, and then 1 over there, 2, 3. So 3 on the right. I mean, I would, in this particular case, say 4, just because of that smudge. People would get quite confused, but some guys would just rule out that and use those there. But 3, kind of 4 would be my kind of view. If we go across to another leopard, there's Quarantine. So these are just kind of individuals that we have. You can see there 1, 2, 3, very nice uniform kind of row of spots, and then on this side the 1, 2, 3 going that way. And so you get different spot patterns. Those spots will always be different on every single leopard, even though they might both have a 3-3 spot pattern or a 4-4 spot pattern or 5-4 spot pattern. You might get different leopards. That arrangement will never be the same. So it's like a fingerprint. It's always a bit different. The other places that we use in terms of being able to ID leopards is that you'll use around the eyes here. So this bridge between the eyes, that is always very unique to a leopard. We know on Karula she had the wow that we had there. You'll use any spots that kind of come around this area, because those will all be unique, and any spots around the eyes there. So those are the kind of ways that you'll do it if a leopard is head on. If a leopard is side on, it becomes a little bit more tricky and it makes it a lot harder, and then you've got to start trying to kind of look out for sort of track or signs on their body that is a little bit different. In Tingana's case, we have that sort of smiley face on his left shoulder that we can use. There's a little heart on Hosana's tummy that could also be used. So there's various kind of spots that you can use, but that's the official spot patterns that you kind of get, is those spots that are just above the whisker line. That's how we do it and how you kind of recognize it. So if you were wondering, it's exactly how we call it. It's 3-3 or 4-3 or whatever the case may be. Like I say, many people use it scientifically, and it is the right way to do things. In my case, I don't ever kind of subscribe to it, just because it's not as practical in a field situation. In a photograph, yes, but not in a field situation. When you're actively following a cat, is it that easy to look at a spot pattern from a distance like what we are at the moment? Hello, Tingana. Have you woken up? It's quite a stare. Yes, that's better. Good. All right, well, we're going to wait for him to see if his suitor arrives. In the meantime, back to Brent and the little chief.
Well, we have a very flat cat. Very, very flat cat. And as you can see, breathing quite heavily after that mini meal of Inyala. He only lost one leg to the hyenas. He's got a little twirl on his tummy. That's probably just a little bit of moisture from where he's lying down drinking. Tracy is wondering, will he go to the waterhole only once or multiple times in a day? It completely depends. I think he's probably going to sleep for the next, or possibly even half an hour or hour. And then he might go drink again before he goes on his nightly meandering. Leopards are not water dependent. They don't have to drink. They like to drink. So they will actually, in desert areas, they can go days, months without drinking. They get enough moisture from the blood of the animals that they kill. But if there is water available, they will take advantage of that. Guys, it's up to you. Should we stay or should we go? Hashtag SafariLive. As I say, I don't think he's going to move too much in the next little while. And we can go bumble about and see if we can find anything else. And then come back a little bit later. Starting to hear the sort of evening chorus of birds, and in about 45 minutes or so the daytime birds will be really quiet and the nocturnal ones will start calling. But while we wait to see what your decision is, whether to stay or to go, let's go back to Tingana, who seems to be waking up.
Indeed, Tingana is awake at the moment, but really it's behind a lot of foliage. I'm hoping his head kind of popping up is going to lead to the female coming back in again. We saw it last time. As soon as he popped up, he kind of ended up sort of attracting her attention, so to speak, and moving in. Looks like our hyena is also waking up a little bit. It's kind of decided to scratch itself and give a big yawn. Are you going to come and say hello to the leopards now, or to us? The problem is that this is going to, I hope, not push these leopards down behind this wall of kind of thickets. No, okay, the hyena's backing off now, which is good. No, don't come this way, though. Go the other way. Yes, there you go. Good job. Well done. Off you go. Excellent. So that is a good job by the hyena. It's left us to have a bit of space with Tingana and for us to actually kind of get a better view of him. Now, Seb, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get you forward a little bit, because ultimately Seb doesn't really have a view of Tingana at the moment. And so what I'm trying to do is trying to just get us slightly forward a little bit. Just got to be a bit careful because there's a bit of a steep drop here, and once I go over that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back down again. Seb, that's as far as I'm going to be able to go, I'm afraid, Seb. So otherwise we're going to get ourselves firmly stuck. Is this Land Rover going to hold, though? That's the next question. Yes, it is. So there we go. It's not too bad, is it? I feel like we did okay, Seb. That's good. There's the typical view of the Duke, and look at how wide his shoulders are with that dewlap that hangs down. It gives you an idea of just how beefy the Duke is still at. Even at his age, he's really quite massive and has got a lot of power in those shoulders. Hosana's got a bit of a way to go now to get that big. Hosana's kind of filled out to the point where his neck and his shoulders are almost one, but his shoulders still need to bulk out just a little bit more, and he definitely still needs a much bigger dewlap to compete with the likes of his dad. His dad has got a monstrously big dewlap in comparison to his son and to many other leopards. In fact, even Anderson, Tingana's dewlap is by far bigger than Anderson's already. Oh, and that's quite interesting, given that Anderson is the slightly bigger leopard. So sometimes dewlaps are hereditary. We've discussed it a few times in the last few days, is that a dewlap doesn't necessarily come with age. It also can be a genetic thing where some leopards will display bigger dewlaps. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Hosana gets a big one. Most of Karula's boys have not got big dewlaps. So the Quarantines, Kunyumas, Shavambalana, Induna, Mishu, none of them, as far as we ever saw at their latest photos that we've seen, ever developed monstrous dewlaps. But let's see, maybe a bit of injection of Tingana's blood is going to end up in a bit of a kind of bigger dewlap on Hosana. I mean, we always say that Tingana is Hosana's father, and it's, I mean, as far as we know, it is, but you can never be 100% sure with leopards until such time as the DNA testing is done and paternity testing is done. But as far as we know, and the kind of general look of Hosana and Tingana would indicate that it should be him. Let's put it that way. It should and is two very, very kind of different things. Come on, girl. It's time for you to come and make an appearance again. You've got a beautiful kind of view of him she was back there somewhere. So when the hyena got up, she got up as well. Now I can't see her anymore. She got, I think, a little nervous of the hyena moving about. Oh, what just flew off there? There was something that flew off, and it looked like a melanistic gabar goshawk that flew off. Now, a melanistic is basically a black form of a bird when it produces too much melanin, and that's the dark pigment cells, and very difficult to be able to actually see where it went. So it just kind of flew off out of here. I couldn't see nicely if it was. It's landed, unfortunately, where I can't see anymore. Even with binos, I won't be able to see it. It's a shame. Well, we'll have to just sit and watch. Maybe it will fly to another tree and I'll be able to see it. In the meantime, though, let's send you back to the bushwalk team who is gazing upon a fiery sunset.
Fiery sunset, Emma, or are we looking at you? No, I'm just joking. It is gorgeous. It does kind of look like the bush is on fire. And, of course, as it starts to fade behind the horizon, it means we got to start edging closer back to camp. Look at Darby using that log. Hey? Natural framing. That's why they pay him the big bucks. Right. Ginger biscuits, what would you like to see on the bushwalk before it gets dark? See, you get a special request today, Emma. Emma's now up. Oh, goodness. Right, I was about to say Emma, for the first time in her entire life, has been speechless. Then she went and said a pangolin. That's what she wants to see. Emma, I don't even know what a pangolin footprint looks like, to be honest. I don't even know, like, what does a pangolin even look like? How does a pangolin even pangolin? I have absolutely no idea. If you're wondering about the... If you're wondering why I called Emma Ginger Biscuit as well, so we had a lovely lady by the name of Jackie come and visit us, and she brought us all amazing goodies from Holland, if I'm not mistaken. Amazing. Discovered all the nice sweets. And there was this beautiful container, which I still really want. Does anyone know in camp where that little tin with biscuits is in? Did Eggsy steal it after I specifically said that I wanted that container while it was still filled with biscuits? Anyways, we were talking about... And he was there. I was having this conversation with him. I mean, how's that? Just upright, stole it right underneath my feet. Anyways, so I wanted this container because I thought it'd be quite cool to put like jewelry and stuff in or whatever. And we then said ginger biscuit, because that's what the kind of biscuits that were in. And when I say biscuit, I mean a cookie inside this tin. And then Emma was standing on her step and she goes, what did you say, Emma? You were like, that's not very nice. Oh no, Oh yes, I said, oh no, ginger biscuits, because I'm not a fan of ginger biscuits. I don't enjoy them. And then Emma just stopped and she dead stared both Eggsy and I and said, that's rude. So now we've got two fiery redheads in the final control studio. We have to be careful now, have our wits about us, as could be dangerous. Although Kirsten is back from holiday, and the two of them, yes, will be keeping all the presenters on their toes. We can't get sassy anymore. That's the end of that. We get Ginger snapped back into business. Not back into business. I think I've seen a dacre. Darby, over here. I don't know. I know it's not a pangolin. I'll do handstands if I see a pangolin. Can you see that dead tree? Down to the right of it, but like not where the impala are or whatever other thing that is walking to the watering hole. There's something. Can you see it?
I'm not sure. Have a look here. Is it around this area?
Yes, it's just that far away. There's a dacre down there, but I think it's too far away for us to see, unfortunately. Yeah, it's like...
I see the impala there.
So the impala at the back, and then there was something, but it might have moved. It could also just be a stump. Might just be a stump. Well, we're going to walk in that direction, and if it runs away, we know it was an animal. If we don't, it's a stump. Well, a Logosaurus. Goodness. I'm sure the elephants have been busy around here. I was just seeing if this is the tree with the cocoons on with the spiders that almost scared me to death, but it is not that tree. Nah, not this one. It was another one that looks the same. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make our way back up towards quarantine and, well, I suppose get into a safe position. There wasn't anything here while we investigated around, but, yeah, it's one of those things. Maybe the bushbuck was just got a fright. Brent probably scared it with his loud voice. Let's go to Tristan, who is most of the time very soft-spoken.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I am. Compared to you and Brent, I most definitely am the most soft-spoken of the three of us, that's for sure. It's hard to be able to compete with the likes of Brent and Taylor. The camp volume is very loud at the moment. They make a lot of noise and, well, I suppose it's okay. Adds a bit of a vibe to things. Unfortunately, though, both of our leopards are still kind of taking it very easy. Tingana's just put his head down. I was hoping with his head up that she would be attracted in and come and kind of spend some time with us, but she's decided to also have a bit of a nap. We can just make her out way in the distance. It's very tricky for Seb to find her with the camera because her spots and her camouflage is absolutely incredible. So just through there is where she actually is. You can just see a few kind of spots. You see her head in the background there? So look at that camouflage. Isn't that amazing? So really tricky to kind of spot her when she's lying kind of in those thickets. And it just goes to show how often you would drive past a leopard. I mean, that's a really tricky thing to kind of see all the way over where she is. And she's quite sleepy at the moment, which is good. She must have a little nap, and hopefully she'll wake up just now and decide to come out and come and join Tingana. But if you zoom out and you see where Tingana is, you would never say that there are two leopards in that particular frame, but most definitely there is, as we just showed you. So the camouflage of a leopard is insane, particularly as the light starts to fade like it is now. We're now starting to getting that time of the day where slowly but surely the sunlight is disappearing, and therefore it starts to get quite tricky to spot our spotted characters, and that's why they will often hunt at this time of the day. It's now kind of the right hour for them to start moving about and looking for food, even though these two won't be doing it. Hosana, we know, has killed a little baby Nyala, but that doesn't mean that he won't carry on looking for food once again this evening. He's kind of seems to have just this bottomless pit. He would do well at a buffet, an all-you-can-eat buffet. He would just kind of go crazy. I wonder who would eat more, him or Tingana. I think Tingana maybe would take the cake. That Tingana is the original sausage. And Viam and I always used to have this kind of question in our minds as to how much sausage Tingana could eat. If we had one big roll of sausage and we just rolled it out behind the car, how far would it take, or would Tingana eat the sausage, and how long would it take him? And, you know, it would have to be in one sitting, and we used to guess in meters how many meters of sausage Tingana could eat. And Viam reckons that he could easily eat 20 meters of sausage, which is a fair amount of sausage if you think about it. And here in South Africa, the boerewors that they make, which is the type of sausage, it's called boerewors, and it's actually quite a big sausage. It's not very slender at all. So, you know, 20 meters of that would be a hefty amount of boerewors, and Viam reckons that would work. And so it would be quite funny to actually see a leopard kind of walking behind a car eating a big kind of rope of sausage that's off the back of the vehicle. I think it would be quite entertaining. Of course, we would never do it because you mustn't feed animals, so kids at home or anybody at home don't feed animals. It's not good for them. Particularly, you know, I see a lot of people feeding birds bread and all kinds of other things. It's often not very good for their digestive systems and shouldn't be done. But you know, it was just a joke that Viam and I had, and we always thought it would be quite funny if it actually ever happened. But we would never do it, obviously, with Tingana. It's just asking for trouble to do those kind of things, and it's interfering with nature. Plus, as I say, these guys probably shouldn't eat the things that we eat, and it's not very good for them, I would imagine. Right, on that note, Tingana's giving us the BDI about the sausage and why we think it's a bad idea not to give it to him. And so let's send you across to Taylor, who's going to welcome the kids as they join the show.
Hello to all the wonderful children from Canada Elementary. I'm so excited to have you on this bushwalk because, yes, we're on foot. And those elephants that you just saw back there, my name is Taylor. And on camera with me today is David. Hello. And you'll meet Rexon. Can we show you Rexon? There's Rexon. How cool is Rexon? He's just waving hello. So he's also a really cool safari guide. He's carrying the rifle because as I talk all the nonsense to you guys, I can't concentrate and also be on lookout. So that's why Rex is here. And also he's great to have conversations with. So we have lots of chats. Now remember, if you have any questions, ask your teachers one at a time, hands up, no shouting out. Right. So we're very lucky to be able to see elephants on bushwalk, on foot, because they are wild animals. Remember, we're on a safari in the middle of nowhere in South Africa which is very cool. Well, it's not the middle of nowhere. This area is called the Sabi Sand, and it's in the Greater Kruger National Park. I bet some of you have probably heard about the Kruger National Park. It's one of the most famous safari destinations in Africa. And we've been spending a whole lot of time with these elephants. I've already been here for an hour and a half, and they were surrounding us. They were right just below our feet. We were sitting on a termite mound. It was so cool to have these big grey giants so close to us, and they didn't know we were there in the beginning, but then after a little while they got closer and closer, and then they thought something was up, but they didn't mind us. They didn't really do anything at all. They just carried on eating, and then they slowly moved away from us. Now they're going back. They've already had a drink, but who knows, it's been so hot today, they might want to have another sip of water. That's definitely the case. Well, everyone from the class, you're wondering how do animals stay cool. It depends on the animal. I'm going to tell you about how elephants keep cool, and Brent and Tristan can tell you about leopards and maybe some of the other animals. So elephants have got really, really big ears, and they like to flap them around, of course to get rid of all the bugs and stuff, but it also helps cool themselves. So they fan their ears, and they've got lots and lots of blood vessels, and the skin is really, really thin on their ears. So when they flap them, they cool the blood down. So basically then all that cool blood filters right through their body, and it can cool them down like that. So I always say that an elephant's ears is basically like the radiator in a car, how it keeps the car cool. Then the other thing that elephants really like to do is they go for mud baths. So they'll go and play around in the mud, which they were doing earlier today, and then they also go swimming. Elephants are so good at going for swims, and they love it too. And it has been so hot. I was jealous of the elephants. I wish that I could have also gone for a bit of a swim. I would have loved to have swam with them, but they're wild animals, and they probably wouldn't like it if I went for a swim with them. So that's what they do to typically keep nice and cool. How epic. Now, I said to you that you're still going to meet two other of the safari guides, and the first one I'm going to send you to is my friend Tristan, and he's got one of the coolest leopards in Africa.
I do indeed, Taylor. We're very, very lucky because we're sitting here with a beautiful big male leopard who is having his afternoon sleep. He's a tired leopard. He's been doing lots and lots today, walking around all over the place, and that means that he needs a little bit of a nap. Now, leopards generally walk around at night, but he was quite active this morning, and so he's trying to have a bit of a sort of sleep. As Taylor mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Sebastian today, and it is a warm welcome to all of you. I hope that you're going to have a wonderful time with us as we show you all of our favorite things out here in Africa. Now, this particular leopard, like I say, is sleeping. He's the big male in this part of the world. He's the daddy of most of our sort of young leopards. He's also the big boss when it comes to walking around here. All the other leopards are a little bit nervous of him. So he's big, he's got big shoulders, and he's got a very big head. Now, at the moment, he's sleeping, and his ear is flicking a little bit because he's got flies landing on him, and the flies will irritate him and give him a little bit of trouble. Now, this particular male, he's not actually on his own. Right in the distance, it's very difficult to see because the leopards have very good spot patterns which make them camouflage. But right in the distance, over there, is another leopard. Do you see it? Do you see its spots? There it is, sitting in the back behind those trees. That's where the other leopard is. Now, that's a little female leopard. So a mommy leopard that is hanging around in the background over there, and she's just staying away because she's a little shy. She's a leopard that we don't see often at all. In fact, we've only just started to see her in the last few weeks, and she's still very nervous of the vehicles, and so she doesn't come as close as what the male does, and she's not as relaxed around us as what the male is. Now, just now, Taylor was telling you about elephants and how they stay cool, and that I would tell you about how a leopard stays cool. So at the moment, our leopards, the sun has gone down, and so their body is cooler than what it was. But if you look at their tummy, do you see that you can see the breathing? Now, that breathing is quite slow at the moment. When we first got here this afternoon, when it was very, very hot, that leopard was breathing a lot faster. And so what these guys do to stay nice and cool is that they'll find themselves somewhere where there's shade, and then they open their mouth a little bit. And I don't know if any of you have dogs or cats at home that you sometimes see when they run around, they'll do what's called panting. Now, panting is when the mouth opens and you'll see the tongue, and they breathe very fast and they make a lot of noise when they do it. Now, the reason that they're panting is to cool their body down. So they have a long, big tongue full of blood vessels, and there's saliva on that tongue. And as they're breathing, hot air from the body is being pushed out, which causes the saliva on their tongue to evaporate, which means it turns from water into air effectively, and that process causes cooling, and the cooling then cools the blood in the tongue and sends the cooler blood back into the body, and that's how a leopard will stay nice and cool in the hot African sun. Now that the sun is set though, he doesn't need to do that, and he can stay nice and kind of cool just by lying where he is. The sun is not going to hit him anymore, and the temperature is really starting to drop quite a bit. Now, while I'm sitting with this spotty animal that is one of Africa's most iconic, Brent has found himself a very tall spotted animal.
Yes, it's a bit bigger than Tristan's spotty animal. It is a male giraffe, and I can tell that it's a boy by looking at its horns. So you see the top of his horns are bald. If it was a girl, she would have long, lovely hair on top of its horns. Now, giraffes' horns are not like other animals' horns. They are actually covered in skin, and they have a fancy name. They are called ossicones. Oh, he's got a nice tasty treat there. Now, that tasty treat, oh, he dropped it, silly giraffe. That giraffe has dropped is actually from a really, really thorny tree called a knob thorn. And the inside of a giraffe's mouth is as tough as the sole of a hiking boot. So it's able to eat really big thorns, and they don't hurt its mouth. Oh, he's coming closer to us. I think he's going to the next thorny tree. There we go. Now you should be able to see some of the thorns. Now, you guys would like to know what type of plants we have on the reserve. Well, what that giraffe is eating at the moment is an acacia, which is a thorn tree. We have marula trees, which the elephants like to eat. But we've got lots of different species of trees, grass, bushes, and shrubs. Now, that giraffe's tucking in. Now, a giraffe's tongue is 40 centimeters long, and it is also purple. Can you believe it? Its tongue is purple. Now, that's because it's got a lot of the hormone melanin in it, which gives the color, but it also helps toughen it up. As I said, a giraffe's tongue and mouth are tougher than old boots. You've got to have a tough mouth when you're eating thorns for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, you guys would like to know, have any animals become extinct in this area? Fortunately, not. We're in a massive area, over 5 million acres of unfenced wildlife, including private reserves and national parks. So there have not been any extinctions in this area, thankfully. We have animals that will only occur in certain parts of this reserve and not occur in other parts, but that's not an extinction. That is them choosing different habitats. Now, I've been waffling on for so long, I forgot to say hello. So, hello, my name is Brent, and with Tristan and Taylor, we're going to take you on a wonderful adventure. The giraffe's on the move again. Now, he's choosing a tree that doesn't have too many thorns. It's got no thorns whatsoever. So they have a very varied diet, but their favorite food is the acacia trees, which do have thorns. I'm going to leave this giraffe eating its dinner and go see if I can find a leopard of my own to go with Tristan's too.
Well, good luck, Brenty. I'm pretty sure if anyone can do it, you can, and hopefully you will find him. Now, you can see, or find a leopard, should I say. Well, you can see our male is still having a really good nap at the moment. He's not going to do too much just yet. I'm surprised, though, because it's cooled down quite a lot, and given that it's been such a hot day, generally what we see from leopards at this time is that they start looking for some water. They like to head off and try and get a little bit of water and try and kind of find something where go and drink. Now I can see the female's got her head up at the moment, and that's why these birds are alarm calling. I don't know if you can hear that. Wah! Now that's called a grey go-away bird, and grey go-away birds basically are saying go away, and they're telling the leopards to move. Now she is kind of repositioned. Seb, you might get a better view of her now. Actually, she's kind of turned to face us a little bit. You can just see her shaking the flies off. So there she is. Isn't she pretty? Now you see she's a little bit smaller than the boy in the back. In the front, he's a lot larger. The male has got a big, thick, kind of heavy set shoulders, big head, whereas she in the background has got a little bit of a smaller head and doesn't have a big kind of fold of skin that comes from her throat. And that's how you can tell boys and girls apart when they're leopards. A big boy will have big shoulders, big head, and a lot of skin that hangs down, which we call a dewlap, whereas the girls, well, they have a little bit of a skinnier neck and a skinnier figure, and they are a lot smaller. You'll also find that she's going to yawn now, which is a good indication that maybe she's going to stand up. Now, if she stands up, we're going to probably not be able to see very much of her, and we might have to kind of reposition, but let's see what she does. She's kind of still sitting and looking around. Now, I think she's going to stand up and move, so we're going to have to kind of try and find ourselves another spot to go and try and find her and see where she actually is. She'll probably, in all likelihood, move into the thicket. Now, while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent and see if he's managed to find his leopard yet.
I'm just driving through the bush looking for a leopard of my own. Hopefully I'll be able to find one. There are not many lions around at the moment, otherwise I'd be looking for a lion. But I saw a young male leopard in this area a little bit earlier this evening, so I'm hoping he's still around. Oh, and on my way to look for a leopard, we buffalo. Oh, a nice herd of buffalo. I'm just going to shoot around. It looks like they might go for a drink. Oh dear, I think they might have chased my leopard I was looking for. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Nice big herd of buffalo heading for a drink. Oh, awesome, guys. Hello, buffles. Excuse me, buffalo. Coming through. Now, the leopard was sleeping right there. He might still be hiding, but he'll want to stay away from buffalo. They can be quite dangerous. So a nice big herd of buffalo coming down for their evening drink. Now, if there's buffalo around, to you too, buffalo, they might attract lions, because in this area, buffalo are a lion's favorite food. I'm pretty sure that leopard I left sleeping here has been chased away by these buffalo. So even though they might look like a big cow, they can be very, very dangerous. They need to have impressive defensive skills to keep away from lions. Rope. So even smell quite a lot like cows. I'm just checking carefully around. I'm just going to move around them to see if the leopard's still here as well. Okay, while I look for the leopard next to the buffalo, let's send you to Taylor, who's walking on foot.
We've actually stopped walking to look at the beautiful sunset. How cool is that? That is an enormous cloud that's coming over from the south. Now, we've had a very, very hot and humid day, so we think that there might be some rain in the next few days. Well, we're hoping so, because you've seen how dry it is. So the animals desperately need some rain so that the grass can grow. Luckily for them, though, some of the trees are starting to get their nice new leaves again. So that's good. That's really good. So things like giraffe and elephants. The elephants are still behind us. We had to race back here because otherwise we're going to get stuck in the dark with a wall of elephants like this, and that's not a good situation to be in. So you'll see that Tristan and Brent will stay out after dark because they're in the cars, they're safe, they've got spotlights, whereas with us being on foot, we can't stay out for very much longer. We're basically making our way home now. Home is not far. Oh, listen, I don't think you'll hear it. Look, they're always Impala. Now, you're all wondering if people live on the reserve. Yes, well, I live here. That's for sure. There's a whole lot of us. So there's lots of guides, there's trackers, there's the housekeeping ladies, there's the chefs, the managers. We all live on site, so we all stay here because otherwise it'll be too far to go home. And sometimes we work for like 6 weeks at a time, and then you'll get a little bit of time off. But it depends. Some of the other staff also work for 3 weeks on, and they get 1 week of holiday. So I'm never home. I was home recently, but I'm not going to be home for a very, very long time. So those were Impala that we were looking at, and they were making a very funny sound. There was a male that was making like a very gurgly noise. Now what those animals are doing is they've gone and had a drink, but now they come up to this open plain behind our camp so that they can be nice and safe, because the grass is short and there are not many small shrubs for the predators, so the lions, the leopards, the hyenas to hide behind, so they feel a bit safer. So even though there might just be a little slither of the moon or some of the starlight, the animals can actually still see much better than you and I could see at night. And then what they're looking for is they'll be standing there eating, maybe some of them going to sleep and looking around, and then hopefully they'll be able to see the silhouette of the predator coming towards them. So that's why they come out onto these open areas at night. There's even a big herd of wildebeest making their way this side, but they still take a little bit of a while to sort of come up here, and then they're happy. And then we're hoping that the lions come this side now, because lions are my favorite of the cats, and I'd love to see them. Love to see them again. My favorite pride, they're called the Nkahuma pride. So, yeah, it's now starting to quieten down. It's now starting to cool down. I'm ready. I could go and jump in the swimming pool. Should we go jump in the swimming pool, David? It would be nice if we could go to the swimming pool. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to see you again, because it is getting very dark now, so we're going to have to go home. But I'm going to send you to Brent, and those buffalo, I think, are still all having a drink.
Well, they're just staring at us at the moment, and I'm pretty sure they've chased off the leopard I was coming to see, and I'll try to find him again now. Noisy creatures, buffaloes. So you guys are wondering how hot it can get here during summer. It can get to about 115 Fahrenheit. 115 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go see if I can find this little leopard. He's a young male. And if the buffalo came in from the tracks here, he would have headed that way. So let us go see if we can catch up with him. It's one of my favorite leopards. The first time I saw him, he was tiny, about this big. Oh, he might have headed up on top of a termite mound, where he might feel a bit safer from buffalo or hyenas. He's not over there. Now, he had quite a full tummy, so he might not have moved too far. There's a good termite mound. Where are my binoculars? Let's have a quick look. It's the type of place, if he gets chased, he might go. But no, nothing there. So one of the other ways we find leopards is to see where they left their footprints. But while he's running quickly. Okay, well, I try find my leopard. Let's send you back to Tristan, who's got a view of the female leopard.
No, I've got a view of the big male now. He's woken up. Look at how big he is and his dopey kind of eyes that he's watching, having a little look from the thicket. He's giving us a very, very intense kind of stare. So that's where he is at the moment. He's lying as regally as and beautifully as you could ever ask for from a leopard. He really does look magnificent when he's sitting like that. Isn't that beautiful? They really are one of my favorite animals. Now, I've kind of been hoping that he would get up and move for us, but he hasn't really done much. He's kind of just rolled around, and hopefully if we start to see him yawn and show his big teeth, well, that will be an indication that he might just decide that he wants to start walking around. And if he starts to walk, well, that'll be good for us because he'll go towards water and might go and have a bit of a drink, and the female will probably follow him there. Now, what you're seeing today is very unusual. We don't normally see two leopards together, so you're all very, very lucky to see two leopards together. You can see the flies are giving him a tough time. Now, normally what happens with leopards is that you will find that they like to spend most of their time on their own. And the reason why they like to spend most of their time on their own is because, well, they are loners, and they like to, the way that they hunt, the areas that they like to walk in, it works better for them to be by themselves. They don't really work well with others. So even though you see a mommy and a daddy leopard together, that doesn't mean that they stay together. The mommy leopard will move off and she'll go and do her own thing, and the daddy leopard will only kind of move around and protect the area and allow a safe place for this mommy leopard to kind of raise her cubs. And so it's kind of how it works with leopards. So to see two together is very, very rare, and we're very lucky to be able to see the two. Now, our male has gone to sleep again. He's decided it's all too much for him. Maybe it's because it's been a warm day today that he's a little bit on the tired side and doesn't actually want to move too much. Now, Seb, I reckon that you'll see the female, she might appear now. She's going to try and kind of just head in his direction and try and kind of move off, and so that might be the answer that we're looking for, is they might actually start to kind of head away. And right now, you might have noticed a bit of noise behind us, and that's just because the male is still a little bit grumpy with the female. He doesn't really kind of like her to be too close, and so it makes a little bit of a noise and kind of chases her off a little bit sometimes. And there she is, there she's kind of flicking her tail and making a little bit of noise. Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose sight of them. They're going to move into a thicket now that it's just not going to be possible for us to follow them. So I think we're going to probably leave them and try and kind of see what else we can go and find. You can see there goes the big male. See how much bigger he is? Look at the size of his head and his neck. Absolutely massive in comparison to the female. He's a really, really, really big boy. Look at that. Isn't that magnificent? Now look what he's doing. He's going to the toilet. So he's marking his territory. That's what a territorial animal does, is they mark, and so they spray. And that's a very clear signal to any other leopard that walks here that this is my space, not yours. Stay away. Don't come near me. Don't kind of come into this area. Otherwise, I'm going to chase you away. So he leaves this kind of chemical trail for other leopards to know about. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. Now, there comes the female. She'll walk kind of roughly where he was, and you'll see her just kind of moving through the thickets, kind of ghosting. She just went over that little ridge and away from us. Thank you, Emma, for the bless you. I was getting a little bit of a sneeze. It's a bit dusty out here today. It's a bit of a wintry kind of feel. But you can see how well they kind of blend in when they do decide to get behind a thicket. It really does make life a little bit tricky to find these guys, and it's why we get so lucky that we spend time in an area where we see a lot of leopards that are a bit more relaxed, and we get to view them as much as we do. It's very, very special to be able to spend time with leopards. So all of you in the class are wondering what animal is under threat the most. Well, that's probably a very difficult question to answer, because in Africa or in the world, there's a lot of different animals that are facing a lot of different threats. And here, probably where we work, the most threatened animal, I would say, in terms of the animal that's being poached the most, which is illegally hunted. Now, the female's coming back towards him, and they're going to probably end up going down into the kind of thickets. But probably the most poached animal I would imagine would be a pangolin in this area. So a pangolin is a small armored kind of thing that looks a bit like an armadillo, and they get chased around. I mean, they get hunted quite a bit illegally, which means people come and take them without any permission, and that means that they get kind of, unfortunately, that probably their numbers are decreasing the most. But there's also things like rhinos that are being hunted and being wiped out, elephants, lions, leopards. All of these kind of things are under a lot of pressure at the moment, and it's why it's important for all of you to be watching things like this so that you learn about nature, and hopefully when you grow up you can spread the word to everybody that it's very important to have these animals out here, because they're vitally important for not only the ecosystems but even for us as people to learn valuable lessons from. So it's important that you guys all remember about the animals and tell people about them. Right, now our leopards are going to move off. They're going to disappear into very, very thick bush. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to follow them any further, and so while we kind of move out and go find some other things, let's send you back across to Brent.
Hello, welcome back. So we're just doing a little loop around the edge of this thick bush where we believe that young male leopard would have run away from the buffalo. He's quite an adventurous chap, so he might pop out anywhere. So you might notice I'm no longer in color, and that means we're in infrared, and infrared is a type of a light that, oh, that's pretty though, silhouetted giraffe leaning up to get those tip-toppy branches, and it means in infrared we can drive around and look at the animals at night without putting a big spotlight on them, and what this does is helps us not to interfere in their natural behavior. Isn't that pretty though? See how it's reaching up? You can see how its long tongue there doing its job. Now, as I said, its tongue is about 40 centimeters long. Sorry, I lie, is it 40 inches? No, 40 centimeters. No, I lie. 90 centimeters, 40 inches, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to do my conversions. Isn't that absolutely stunning? Now you can see how having a long neck like that is advantageous. Now, strangely enough, giraffe did not evolve their long neck for feeding. The males evolved it for fighting, to try find girlfriends. Oh, he got a funny piece there. You could see his tongue moving about. Yeah, well, let's see what else we can find. Quite a lot of elephants around earlier. Maybe we can catch up with some of their ellies. Ah. See how that giraffe is looking down? I think it spotted the leopard I'm looking for. So giraffe are actually really good at helping us find predators because they're so tall. When you see a giraffe looking focused like that, I think it spotted the leopard. Let's go and have a look. Here's my favorite little leopard, Hosanna, walking through the bush here. Might have seen something else. Okay, so that that giraffe was looking into this little river here. You guys wondering what is the coldest temperature we get here? Probably around 35, 40. Now, as I said, we're in infrared, so we don't disturb them, but sometimes I will use a spotlight to try find them. I'm just going to have a quick look. See, what I'm looking for with my spotlight is for the leopard's eyes to shine. Now, unfortunately, this area where that little leopard ran is very, very thick, and there's some very big dry riverbeds that we can't actually drive into. Anyway, maybe we'll come back and look in a few minutes. Maybe he'll move out into an easier area. Okay, let's go see if we can find some elephants. Since I can't find my little leopard. Now, one of the best ways to find elephants is to use your ears. Because when they're feeding, although how you find predators often is to watch other animals. As I said, we just saw that giraffe looking there. Now I've got an inyala looking there. Listen for a second. So, very focused. Now, if that inyala sees the leopard, it's going to go bah, bah. And that's what you call an alarm call, to tell all the other animals that there is a leopard around. Now, Emma, can you send the question again? I had taken my earpiece out to listen. Now, you guys are wondering, what do antelope eat? Well, you have browsers and grazers, and then you have mixed feeders. So an inyala is a browser, which it means it eats leaves from trees and bushes. Other antelopes are grazers, which means they only eat grass. And mixed feeders will eat both leaves and grass. Now, it's not uncommon. Batters, just go to the left of the inyala a little bit quickly, please. Through that bush there, that sort of dry, spindly stuff. I thought I saw something move. Now, leopards do a lot of their hunting in the dark. So this is the time of the day when that leopard is going to become quite active. What's that? You see behind him there, Batters? Another inyala. No, I've just got a feeling that that leopard's close by. So I don't want to move, but we do have another antelope, which is a mixed feeder to the right of us, under the tree, which is actually one of a leopard's favorite foods. It's called a grey duiker. Now, they will eat leaves and grass, so they're a mixed feeder. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer because I think something might happen while I do that. Let's send you back to Tristan, who's left those leopards who went into the thicket.
Indeed I have. It took us a bit of time to get out of there because, phew, it was thick. There was lots of trees in the way, and we had to try and get round and round and round and bounce through it. But eventually we found a way, and we're now trying to find the nearest road. So the road is not far up ahead, it's close by, and we'll get onto that road fairly soon, and then we'll be able to start looking for some other things. I'm hoping maybe with the noise of the leopards that maybe, just maybe, a hyena is around, that we can be able to see it. You never know, we might even get lucky with the lion. If there's buffalo about, sometimes lions like to come out and they like to hunt those buffaloes, so we're going to try and check around for them. But we've found the road, luckily, which is very good news, and that means that we're going to be a lot smoother ride for all of us. There we go. Let's just get down onto the road itself. Got to take it slow because there's a bit of a steep bump here. There we go. And that's better. So now, Emma, did you say mongoose, or did I hear that wrong? So mongoose. If we can see them from all of the class, a bit late now to see the mongoose. The only mongoose we would see now is what we call a white-tailed mongoose. So it's a nighttime mongoose, and it comes out and it's got a big fluffy white tail, so we might find them. They're sometimes a bit tough to see, but the other mongoose are all going to sleep now. They're going to go and find themselves a little spot to go and lie down in, and that's normally in a termite mound, and so probably won't see them. What do they eat? Well, they eat all kinds of things. They're one of our carnivores out here, so they will hunt a lot of insects. They will go after small mammals, even snakes, scorpions, spiders. All of those kind of things are all food for a mongoose, and it depends on the size of the mongoose as how big of their prey they can take. So a bigger mongoose means that they can kill bigger snakes or bigger animals, whereas a smaller mongoose, obviously smaller snakes and smaller animals. So it just depends on the size of the mongoose and what it will be able to actually kill. Now we're going to try and kind of see what else we can find. I'm going to have to get my spotlight out shortly, which I don't know where I've put it. It's here somewhere under all of the mess that I have in my car, and I'm sure I'll find it shortly. I've just got to dig around with my hand, and then I'll be able to find it. So the class reckons that we drive a lot. Well, we don't actually drive all that much. We're quite lucky because we get to kind of drive not that far. We have friends that are up in East Africa in Mara, which is a national park, and they drive a lot. But if you want to know how big South Africa is, well, South Africa is a very, well, not quite as big as the United States, that's for sure, or Canada, but it is still quite a large country. So to drive from one side of Africa to the other side of Africa, because I'm not sure exactly how big it is in square miles, but it would take you probably, if you had to drive from the northeast corner to the southwest corner, it'd probably take you, I would say, what do you reckon, 23 hours of driving non-stop, and that would get you towards where you would need to be. And so that would be from Cape Town all the way up into the northern corner that connects Zimbabwe and Mozambique to us. Now, I'm still trying to find my spotlight. I know I had it here earlier, so I don't know where I put it. I put it somewhere for safekeeping under here, and I can't kind of feel it, so I'm going to have to look for it. So I do apologize if you see me kind of looking about. It's because I'm trying to find where the cable for the spotlight actually goes and where I've actually put it. I think it's under my bag, and so I'll have to try and get that out fairly shortly. So we're going to try and stay on the road. Exactly. When you put things somewhere safe, this is what happens. There it is. Underneath my bag is where I thought it would be. Now I've got to make sure that I've got enough of a cable that I can swing my spotlight around. Now you might be wondering, why do I have a spotlight? Well, at night when it gets dark like this, the animals will move around and their eyes will shine back at me if I shine the light at them, and I can then spot all the animals. I can look for things like owls and lions and mongoose and leopards and all these kind of things that are more active at night. And maybe we'll even get lucky with a bush baby. Bush babies are a beautiful animal. They're small little things that jump from tree to tree to tree, and they can be out at this time of the day. It's now when you start to find them kind of getting ready to go out for their sort of foraging. So they'll move around all throughout the night, and they'll go from one tree to another. They'll hunt insects, they'll feed off sap of the trees, which they'll bite the tree a little bit, and the sap will then run out, and they'll try and grab those and try and kind of get it and sort of eat that. And sometimes what they'll even do is they bite the tree and then they come back the next day when the sap has come out of the tree itself, and that sap is generally full of sugars and full of all the good things that bush babies love to eat. So hopefully we'll find one of those this evening. So I believe the class is wondering what type of birds. Yeah, well, we have all types of birds. We're very lucky that in southern Africa, so South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Lesotho and Swaziland, and Namibia, we have 1/8 of the world's bird species that occur in these areas, which means that we see a lot of different birds, and we've got eagles, we've got storks, we've got herons, we've got bee-eaters, we've got shrikes, we've got all kinds of things, ducks, lots and lots and lots of different types of birds. Now at this time of the night, the birds that you would be looking for would be owls, nightjars, which are a bird that sits on the road, so maybe we'll get lucky with them, and things like coursers. So those are all birds that are active more at night than during the day. And then obviously all our birds that are kind of active during the day, well, they've gone to sleep now, so we probably won't be seeing much of them, unfortunately. And they probably all have now found a place to go and sleep, and I'm not going to shine a torch at them because it's very rude. It's you shine a torch at a sleeping bird. Can you imagine if you were sleeping in your bed and I came with this big bright torch and just shone it in your face? You wouldn't be very happy at all. You wouldn't like it. And so we try not to do that to any of our animals, and we try and kind of keep it away from them as much as possible. Let's see. No sign of any bush babies, which I'm surprised about because this is a good area for bush babies. We like this kind of area for them and generally kind of see some of them bouncing around. So I'll keep trying to search, and while I do, let's send you back across to Brent and see if he's had any luck with his leopard.
Well, I'm still in that same area where I think that little male leopard is, and I'm just keeping quiet and listening, because that's his favorite food. One of his favorite foods. Little grey duiker. Now, I know Tristan was talking about what birds we can see at night. I can't see it, but I can hear it calling. If you listen carefully. Of course, now it keeps quiet. There it is. A fiery-necked nightjar, nocturnal bird species. Now, those of you who've watched movies, somehow someone in Hollywood has found a soundtrack of the fiery-necked nightjar, and it seems to appear in lots of movies set in America and South America and places where there are no fiery-necked nightjars at all. And we can hear another nocturnal bird now, a little owl called a scops owl going burp, burp, burp. That's some of my favorite sounds are always at night. So it's quite nice to just listen for a little bit. But it's been wonderful having you guys on a drive. You got to see leopards, you got to see buffalo, inyala, and duiker. And we get to listen to these amazing African sounds. So from all of us here at SafariLive, it's been wonderful having you. And for the last couple of seconds of drive, I'm just going to keep quiet and let you listen to the sounds of the African bush.